And we are live. It is May 29th, 2021. Before we get going, I would appreciate an update from the listeners there, the SMT Nation. Let me know that my sound is okay. We had a little bit of an issue earlier. So as long as it's not clipping, as long as it's not crackling, if it's not too loud or too low, then we can go ahead and proceed. Just let me know that I'm okay. I don't know. We're having some issues backstage and we're trying to work through them. So I'd see I see the homie Mike West is here. I see Joey. So let me know if our sound is okay. What's up, guys? Appreciate you for stopping by and being here. Got a couple of yeahs to get things started right away. Says it's good. All right. Okay. I don't know, because sometimes it'll be crackling or there's like static and I don't get any feedback from you guys, so I had to ask. All right, Tyrone, I think we're good for the go. What do you think, man?
Yeah. Yep. I think we're good. I think the sound is clear. Let's do it.
All right, so the topics for today, there's a lot we could discuss. All right, there is a lot. We have all the JP Morgan investor meeting stuff from this week. T-Mobile spoke, so we got some Eugene action, some sweaty armpits going. We got I think actually first it was Verizon or maybe AT&T, and then it was T-Mobile third. So, but they all represented. Stanky spoke, Eugene spoke, Hans spoke. I think what they try to do with those meetings, Tyrone, is they try to give confidence to the investors in the company themselves, right? So, if Tyrone's an investor and I'm T-Mobile, I have to explain to Tyrone what we're doing with our business, the direction we're moving in. Try to give Tyrone confidence that he can invest in our company without any concerns or worry. How we're positioned, how we're going to move. What do you think about these investor meetings, man? Do you think it's just window dressing, or do you think we actually get some takeaways from it?
Well, what I think is now, more than ever, I think the updates and these conferences have been too frequent. They're too close together. There's really nothing changing on the updates. As a matter of fact, Sneed, there's another update coming June 4th from all of them at the UBS conference. So next Friday, we're going to be hearing the same stuff again. I mean, if it's only weeks apart, there's not much changing on the guidance and in the industry period. I think there needs to be like maybe 3 to 6 months between the conferences to actually report anything different. But if not, we're going to hear the same spill come next Friday that we just heard at the JB Morgan conference.
The AT&T update would make sense because they just spun off Warner Media.
Yeah.
And they've got that, they got the merger with Discovery. So to me, I think that's deserving of an investor meeting, a briefing, something.
Yeah.
The frequency of the T-Mobile ones maybe isn't necessary. Maybe you're right about that. I mean, their business hasn't really changed outside of them just canning T-Vision.
Yep.
They could do a press release on what they're doing with YouTube TV. Maybe if they decided to change their CapEx and then their fixed wireless or something, like maybe that's deserving of it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're onto something. I mean, I think, what it is like JP Morgan is just so big and so powerful. That name notoriety, you just got to be there, right?
You just got to be there,
yeah. What's up, Siova? Good to see you, man. Anything that you remember vividly from those meetings that got your attention or you thought was meaningful?
The T-Mobile saying they reached LTE parity. That was that's a complete lie. That's something that stuck with me.
It was crazy.
Yeah, but something that I found interesting was Hans Vestberg. They really seem to be going and solidifying that they are okay with losing customers. They have no problem with it under this management, their strategy, their style. They have absolutely no problem now with losing the customer that's not willing to pay for the product. They have absolutely no problem. And I think he mentioned that again during the JP Morgan conference, and he seems to be sticking by it.
What do you think? I mean, when do you think was the last time that Verizon cared about growth? Like when did the transition happen to them just only caring about premium customer?
I think when they saw the bill on how much it costs to buy C-band. I really think so. I mean, the 5G investment can be potentially linked to AT&T spinning off their entire media asset.
$45 million?
Yeah. Like,
$45 billion?
You know, it's 5G is going to be that cash intensive that it would have been hard for them to both invest adequately in both businesses. You know, feed the media side enough, but also, hey, we need to potentially spend more in 5G. So
All
that's
right.
how that debt load is hurting both Verizon and AT&T.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely it's part of the business operations. I mean, if you fall behind on spectrum, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, Verizon still has the most customers to serve on postpaid. AT&T's right up there with and them and T-Mobile, right? So,
Yeah.
you need the capacity. I mean, this is you think about cellular service. I mean, there's only 3 competitors right now. The fourth hasn't really taken off.
Correct.
You're not going to fall behind in spectrum assets. It's one of those things. It's a finite resource, and for the longest time it was only coming out every so often. I mean, how often are we talking about auctions, right?
Yeah.
I want to say over the course of the last decade, before we started seeing the millimeter wave and the CBRS and C-band, I mean, there was an auction, every 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. And that's maybe.
Yeah, that was part of the problem. I think that's one of the reasons why the FCC of yesteryear, should be viewed negatively. Everybody wants to talk about how we were unable to compete internationally. Why is the United States behind in 5G? We're this great country with great technology. We're trailblazers and, visionaries. And our FCC just did not put us in a position to actually be that way. We've got carriers that need and want capacity with customers that are demanding it. And there's the want and the need for, fixed wireless access and all these things. And we just haven't had spectrum.
Yep.
We just started getting the hundreds and the thousands of the millimeter wave and the hundreds of the mid band. We're starting to see these things, but I mean, it took forever, right? Yep. And the carriers are not being bashful though, Tyrone. Let's not get it twisted. They're embracing the grind. They're densifying. They're building out. I mean, we're seeing C-band now. The hardware is going up.
Oh, it's going up quick. It's happening very fast, Nita. It's going at an impressive pace.
Yeah, and we're not talking just one carrier. We're talking Verizon. We're talking AT&T. We're seeing multi-vendor. Ericsson is going up and Samsung is going up.
Yep.
Let's take a look at Brandon's question here. He says, when is AT&T going to start looking for the premium customer? I think they always do. But there's the difference between AT&T and Verizon is AT&T is competing for all customers.
Yep.
They haven't come out and said we want all our customers on the elite plan. By 2025, they haven't vocalized that. We haven't publicly heard that from them. So I look at AT&T just based on their ability to offer all new customers, all current customers, the same deals. And, they're willing to give you premium experiences, and if you're willing to pay, right? Like they give you the HBO Max with the Elite plan and other things, the perks and stuff. So they give you a reason to bump up, but they're not coming out vocally, publicly like Verizon. I mean, Verizon is literally telling the world, we don't even want an offer, a Start Unlimited.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Can you ever see a Verizon where that tier goes away completely, especially now as they gain potentially, well,
Oh,
they say it's going to close with the track phone offer, but just literally offer two tiers of plans and they're
I mean,
premium?
If you think about it, Tyrone, there's always going to be a last place in something. As long as it's you're creating options, there's always going to be a best or a worst. Just
Yeah.
by finishing last. Like you think about a race, if there's 20 people in a race, somebody will finish 20th.
Yeah.
You think it's just like it's a numbers thing. So like if you look at it, unlimited plans. Well, if I offer 3 plans, one of them is going to be considered the entry point. It's going to be the one that's least expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other way you get rid of that is if you offer 2 entry-level plans and they're structured slightly differently,
Yeah.
to highlight or exaggerate a certain feature. I don't know.
No, I mean, you're right, Sneed, but it's just like me being in sales previously. In reality, the entry level plan that's advertised most of the time on TV or in other ads is really just meant for that customer to call or go into the store. And then it's up to the sales rep to really upsell you. They never want you to put that customer in a low end plan. That's really for anything. And and Verizon is really the leader in that. I mean, they're pretty much telling you, all their employees, like, don't even touch that starter unlimited. Don't
Yeah,
don't touch.
what's crazy though, Tyrone, is the fact that they've made the plan pretty unbearable. I mean, it's heavily managed, a lot of deprio and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me
You get
let me
on.
chime in here.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Let me chime in here. Basically, the one thing that I can say, Sneed, is this: that at the end of the day, right, we're paying for a service, right, that people are utilizing for either connectivity for their their phone, their hotspots or whatever. But at the end of the day, um, all the carriers right now, in my opinion, they're not equal. So no one can tell me straight up that T-Mobile is going to be superseding, Verizon and like coverage or some BS like that, like the hype in the marketing. What I can say is this: from the investors conference from the JP Morgan this week, it's definitive that Stanky is putting the his hand down and saying straight up, we're going to compete to the point where anybody would be interested in AT&T.
Yeah, I think it's wise to do it that way too. I would not want any customers to not be a part of the considerations of switching to AT&T. I mean, they've worked too hard with the network to price people out. Why would you want to miss an entire segment of customers? That's what I don't get about the Verizon approach to the premium customer upsell is you should be trying to get the premium upsell, but you don't shove the rest away. That's look, there's a lot of things about the Verizon business plan that I like and that I appreciate. And honestly, the network plan looks amazing, right? The fact of how they're moving forward with 5G. But I think we're all in agreement. The lack of attention to, well, I mean, I don't even want to call it the bottom customer because it's not the bottom. It's just some people may be willing to spend and some people may not. Yeah, I want Verizon's legendary, coverage and yada yada, but I don't want a premium plan. I want an entry level plan because that's all I need. And they're gonna just push you away from it. And they're I mean, they could care less if you're coming and going if you're a starter unlimited customer.
Yeah.
It's they and I bet you get treated in a different light by the retail associates when you go into that store and they ask you, what kind of phone do you want? And then they say, well, here's this phone. As long as you join one of our premium plans, here's your price. I don't really want a premium plan. I want a starter plan. Oh, well, you can't get the deal on that. Like that in and of itself sounds odd,
Yeah, it sounds weird. It's almost like they don't want to conduct business. It's like you come into the store, you just get the hamburger. We're not going to give you the fries, like it's just like you get one thing. It's like, no, like that's why Moose is saying AT&T strategy is we're going to take care of you no matter what you want. We're offering this, and this is what what you can get if you want it.
Firewolf Studios chimes in. He's got a question. How does Verizon tend to serve Lifeline customers and migrate customers who are on non-Verizon networks through TracFone? So the structure of that deal, the TracFone Verizon deal, will mandate that they're going to have to honor Lifeline for X number of years, right, to support customers that are going to use it. I would imagine Verizon would be fine with it. I don't think they'll object to it. Why wouldn't they? It's subsidized, so they're going to get their money. The concern, I think, becomes there's, Tyrone, is it 6 million that are on T-Mobile SIMs, 8 million that are on, or no, it's, how is it structured? Is it 4.5 that are on, 4.5 million on AT&T SIMs, 3.5 million on T-Mobile SIMs, for a total of 8 million non-Verizon wireless TracFone customers?
Yes, that sounds about right. Yep.
So the question becomes is how does the FCC massage that, focus that to try to retain some semblance of an MVNO prepaid competitive space?
Yeah, that's what's
tough. Yeah.
That's what some people are fighting for that we know, but it's it's really tough to do that. I mean, you already cut out another competitor really with the Sprint and T-Mobile merger. I mean, it's going to take years for Dish to gain any ground, really, if we want to be honest. It probably could have been better if Sprint would have stayed around and somehow, they could have given them like a lifeline or something like that from the government side. But it's just going to be tough. I mean, I think too with that TracFone deal, I think depending on how it's structured and if Verizon gets their way, I mean, are they going to spin that business into visible? Or are they going to turn that customer and try to make them just a little bit more profitable and at the same time be willing to let some of those customers go? I mean, that's just Verizon's business strategy. I got to say it's very, very different now. It's very different. It's not consumer friendly no more as it once was.
We'll see how it plays out. I'm tracking it. You're tracking it. We'll report back when we do get, I mean, it's going to be Q3 of this year, according to Hans.
Yeah, they're confident on that. So,
yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think it's a done deal. What do you make of this 2.5 gigahertz EBS BRS auction, Tyrone? The situation at this point, I think, is it's basically Dish and AT&T are open commenting. They're replying to the comment period. They do not want to see an SMR formatted auction for the EBS BRS that's going to be auctioned here shortly. It could be as early as the end of this year. For those of you that are unaware of what's going on, T-Mobile, through the Sprint acquisition and the Clearwire spectrum, the 2.5 gigahertz, it's EBS BRS spectrum. There's a number of, issues in fragmentation. The non-contiguous nature of N41 is strictly due to the licensing protocol that the FCC has put in place. Again, we've already called it, a spade is a spade. The FCC has been a mess for many years. Some of the terms on these licenses, dating all the way back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, they just did not see this coming, right? And maybe it's not their fault. It's like the needs of the people and the public has changed over time. But, we've got educational agencies, schools. There's also, dioceses and churches, and religious groups that have access to some of these 2.5 gigahertz licenses, and they've got priority to it, because of the way it's structured, and it powers down N41, and it T-Mobile may only have 20 or 40 megahertz in a certain place, right? So the FCC is set to create an auction that is going to put up a lot of that unlicensed spectrum up for auction. Now, this brings up the question, How is it going to be structured? Are they going to operate a clock auction, just like we saw with the, CBRS, millimeter wave, all these auctions that have happened over the last few years? They've been clock auctions, right? There's rumor that there may be an SMR auction, which favors T-Mobile tremendously. And Verizon is not objecting to it, but AT&T and Dish are, because I think they stand to be hurt by this. I personally think, Tyrone, that we may see a situation where Dish wants to get little chunks of EBS and BRS throughout the country, right? They want to get the little pieces in places where they can do that. T-Mobile doesn't want that because they're trying to make their holdings contiguous, right? So this auction, it can go one of two ways. I think that really this does indeed need to go SMR. I think that's good, and I think somehow, some way, most of it, all of it needs to go to T-Mobile, and the FCC needs to right the ship. They cannot continue to create this enormous non-contiguous nature. Like, every carrier's got this incredible fragmented. I mean, look at what AT&T has in certain markets, Tyrone. I mean, there are some markets where AT&T's holdings are incredible. The licenses are expansive. They're running dang near 7 carrier aggregation, and it's because they have all these different little bits and pieces, which is cool. But then, like, what about the rest of the situation? Like 10 megahertz here, 10 megahertz there, 10 megahertz here. It's kind of annoying, and honestly, the best thing about C-band was the fact that carriers are getting 80, 100, 160, 40 megahertz national, and it gives you that contiguous ability. And that's part of good networking, is having uniformity across the entire country, right?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, Sneed. But here's some information I was able to obtain earlier in the morning. So it's a little bit more complicated than what many people think. So apparently the EBS licensing cannot exceed a total of 196 megahertz. So in the markets where T-Mobile already owns 186, they can't buy anymore, even if there is additional spectrum available to be bought in Auction 108. So they can only purchase more licensing in markets where they have a lower amount of that spectrum. Say it's 120 or 80 or 60, in some of the rural areas, apparently that's a problem. They need to buy more of the licensing. The issue is with the spectrum being contiguous and non-contiguous is the leasing. So even in the markets where they own all of the spectrum, it's in some cases still non-contiguous because of the leasing issues. Some churches own some of it, and some education side own some of it. So in very small pockets already, like New York City and some places, T-Mobile has already been negotiating with that side, and they're bumping up that bandwidth by 20 or 40 megahertz depending. But they will have to work through this year and next year. They will have to work through more of that leasing to get more of the spectrum contiguous in the coming months. The way they sound on their conferences when they say, by the end of this year will be 100 megahertz and the end of 22 will be 200 megahertz. It sounds like that's what they're planning, but they have not yet publicly, officially spoken of that. That's why me and a couple people have been furious that none of the analysts have been asking T-Mobile directly, or Neville pressuring him on, hey, are you going to fix your leasing and get that spectrum contiguous in a lot of these markets?
Yeah, I know what you mean there. So it's just like they're acting like it's a foregone conclusion that it's coming their way.
Yeah. Yep.
So Tectwan, me and Tyrone actually kind of spoke to this earlier. We believe that it might be an LTE issue, and they're probably also working through some 5G issues as well. I don't know what market you're in, but there could be some ongoing upgrades happening at the tower site level.
Yeah.
Or it could just be a situation where if you've got an older phone, maybe an LTE only phone, that
Yeah.
situation's not going to really get better unless they
It's
widen the PCS band, maybe.
so just real quick to chime into that comment, Sneed. This morning I received a map. I had no up until this point that the overall vendors that T-Mobile uses, we all know it's Ericsson and Nokia, of course, but I didn't know that it was predominantly Nokia. They don't have a lot
Isn't it
of
about
Ericsson.
70%?
It might be a little more. It might be 75,
Oh, wow.
80%. It's
Okay.
predominantly Nokia, and apparently over the next 2 weeks there's a software update that's being sent to the sites for 2.5. So they're doing a lot of tweaking, and I predict that to still be continuous over the next few weeks and months. They're refarming the sites, so they're moving PCS over. They're doing optimizations still. And there's always ongoing tweaking and stuff to the sites that the engineers have to make. So there could be a lot of packet loss happening. Just the issues that they have to work through, especially that they're also at the same time tweaking the standalone core, which has recently launched on the latest iOS update for iPhones. So you could be on the 5G connection, but you're stuck on standalone. That alone decreases your speeds significantly versus non-standalone.
So Twan's got a 5G, the LG Velvet. He's got the V60 and I think the OnePlus 9 Pro maybe. So he's got some new phones, man. I just think they're going through it.
Yeah.
Network integration, Sprint stuff, decomming sites, and backhaul issues. And from what I
Everything.
understand, Virginia Beach is not good for any carrier. It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. That's what I'm
I've
hearing
heard
too. That was a lot of that Chantel up in that area, I believe.
Smoky Mountain Boys, what's going on? Do you think they will put new towers in small counties? North Carolina, AT&T. I think North Carolina is a good AT&T state, aren't they? They're like the strongest carrier there.
Yeah, AT&T is very solid, and it's just going to get better each month and each year. I mean, the first net alone means they have to really bring the coverage. I mean, there's no other way around it for them. They signed that massive contract, so they have to go through all these counties and towns, smallest to biggest, and they have to provide the services. There's no way around it for AT&T to not bring tower sites to these small counties. They have to expand.
Yeah, I've said time and time again, if you are a rural America customer, if you live in the hills, if you live in the mountainous areas of the country, I think your hope is not really Verizon coming to your town or T-Mobile coming to your town. That's going to be a hit and miss scenario. I think the AT&T is going to be your hope.
Yep.
Unfortunately. We would love to see more, carriers trying to expand their native network,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because a lot of these regional carriers like, US Cellular and maybe even some smaller ones out there that we don't really know of. There's very small regional carriers that are out there that are just very target for specific deployments. Some are Verizon partners, some are on their own standalone, and they're dealing with AT&T coming to town now with a FirstNet product that is better than oftentimes what they can offer in terms of capacity. So they're having to fight against another carrier that's really bringing a better product to their town, where previously that first responder was on that network. And now they're like, hey man, I'm going with AT&T first responders. It's cheaper. It's a better network. And then in these smaller communities, everybody knows everybody. And then it's like, hey, I got AT&T and it works 30 times better than what we have here. And all these guys start going to AT&T, and then, these smaller carriers have to deal with that. And it's not good. I mean, US Cellular, especially, they're having to deal with Verizon growing now and getting C-band out there, T-Mobile coming to town, and new stores going up for T-Mobile, and now AT&T expanding into that roaming coverage that AT&T used to have, and now all of a sudden it's going native. It's like, US Cellular, I no longer need you.
Yeah, they basically told ComNet, US Cellular, this is over. We've got to finance our own native build, and they're off of that.
Yep.
And if we kind of circle back to what we started talking about with the CBS BRS situation, Tyrone, are you a betting man? Is that something that you do? Do you often do bets?
Well, I talk about it
Like
a lot.
what? Like how do you? How do you? If you had to bet $10,
Mm-hmm.
on this Spectrum auction with this EBS, the 2.5 gigahertz, would you bet that it's going SMR? I'm leaning towards SMR.
Yeah, I think so too. But my thing is too with all the issues that are ongoing, with the potential CDMA shutdown and then these auctions coming up, the FCC hasn't really been vocal about any issues. I haven't heard anything. Like, I don't even have a pulse on what the FCC is leaning towards. No idea.
I had never heard of an SMR auction in recent
now.
times. Yeah, so to me, I'd say that gives us some credence, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. But this FCC is a little different because it's under a Biden administration. So, the fact that they already spoke about the ruling of 110 and that there may only be 40 megahertz tops up for grabs, that lets you know.
So then what are they going to change the rules of the way they're going to govern the the way the licensing is going to work? Like, what are they going to do different? Because otherwise, I guess what I want to know is specifically from the FCC side is what do they want out of BRS EBS? What do you want to do different with it than the way it was structured previously?
That's what I think so too. That's why I'm saying we don't really have a pulse because they haven't really publicly brought it up or spoken about it. So we really don't know. What I really think is the concern of AT&T and Dish is they're not really telling you publicly. They're kind of wording it differently to where, hey, we need to change the structure of this. But I think what they're really trying to do is they don't want T-Mobile to get even more capacitive. Stanky even recently mentioned it in a Yahoo Finance interview. He says, yes, T-Mobile will have more capacity than my network, but I'm going to invest to offset that with additional infrastructure, which it's going to take him additional funding and time to really get that type of densification. But if there's going to be regions and cities and towns where T-Mobile is going to get, additional spectrum to get those smaller rural areas up to that 160, 180 megahertz, they're going to be very strong and tough to compete against, especially Dish. Once they get more customers on their network, they're going to be hungry for spectrum too.
Well, Dish can put all their customers on the T-Mobile network for a long time.
Yeah.
They obviously want to build out their native, and that's an important thing. But they could keep, a certain type of customer on the T-Mobile network, and then put a lot of their IoT and all that. Who knows what they want to do with enterprise? How they want to move forward with that. Jarrett, to be honest with you, the 2.5 gigahertz auction, we don't know. But I could tell you but here's the thing, Tyrone. Once the terms and the way that the auction is going to happen, once they have the rules, they could make it for 3 months from that point, right? Like if they were to all of a sudden announce the rules June 30th, we could see the auction set at the end of October.
Yep.
They just have to give, carriers and others time to prepare for it. What's your strategy? You're going to obviously discuss it amongst the board members and such. So,
yeah, I think October is a good time frame.
Coverage in Alaska?
It's going to take them a long time.
Alaska's what, 2-3 times the size of Texas?
Yeah.
Do they really even need to do that outside of their few cities? I don't think FirstNet even calls for it, right? It's just where people are.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have a good pulse on Alaska.
Juneau, Anchorage, right? But I don't know.
I don't know if they're going to cover every inch of Alaska, if that's what he is asking.
Yeah, Uncle JR, he's in Central Coast Cali, AG area, and we get no love. My T-Mobile home internet is deprived all day. I hope they upgrade here soon. I don't know, man. I do not know. I really don't. That's the reason why I ended up returning the service. I didn't keep it. I mean, they were giving me credits, and I wasn't even keeping it because it was so problematic. It was always giving me a hard time. Steven, good to see you, man. The homie Scoop is in the house. Yeah. Oh, GG. Yeah. What's up, my good people? Yeah, nobody cares about rural Louisiana. Yeah, I bet you the coverage is real bad there. I have a friend who lived in Olive Branch, Mississippi, and who told me that if it wasn't for Memphis being so close, you know, there would be no infrastructure there. You know?
Close that digital divide, what everybody's preaching of. We'll see.
I know. How long will the spectrum in the auction take to clear? I mean, it doesn't need much time to clear either. I mean, it's not being repacked from satellite use like C-band.
No,
you know?
That's why some were anticipating that AT&T could go after some of that 2.5 because they can deploy it sooner than the B and C block of C-band.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to have to wait till 2023. I mean, even if they were to accelerate that repack, I mean, it's still going to take some time. You know what? I was talking about this, Bladius, earlier, that if T-Mobile was to get the rest of the EBS BRS, the 2.5 gigahertz, man, that would make a lot of sense. But I would probably, if I was the FCC, I'd keep them out of the next auction, keep them out of the CBRS, and let everybody else kind of have at it. What's up, Keon, Benjamin? Good to see you guys. What's up, Cody? I do wish there was a bit better coverage in more rural spots in Colorado. The Rockies are crazy hard to cover, though. I think. I really think that sometimes there needs to be some satellite association in certain parts of the country with cellular. Like cellular companies should have partnerships, through like the FCC kind of forcing the issue, to keep people connected. Like I feel like a company like Starlink, SpaceX and Elon can kind of make that happen,
Yeah, that could work too, but I'll tell you what, AT&T is going bonkers in Colorado right now. They hired a specific contractor, and if you're in Colorado, I really recommend you should be on that AT&T network out there because
I'm going to ask Pete about that. Pete's out there in like the Boulder market.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're expanding rapidly out that way.
Yeah, AT&T's, they've changed everything, man. Changed a lot of perceptions. Tyrone, next piece, you ready?
Yeah.
Verizon 5G ultra wideband is hitting full stride. We've got, I don't know, like a dozen or so new additions, markets, for the ultra wideband, the millimeter wave. Jersey Shore. They were talking about vacation spots in Maryland and Delaware. I think we saw some really specific locations on the eastern seaboard that are very popular to tourists. This is something that I think people fail to realize. When Verizon started doing millimeter wave, the pandemic has started, and Verizon was hitting stride with the ultra wideband millimeter wave, and nobody was connecting to it because everybody was home.
Yep.
So where they were building it out in the CLE, they started downtown, and then they started moving it into neighborhoods. Well, the neighborhoods is all about fixed wireless. But the downtown areas, the nightlife areas, the touristy, vacationy, the train stations, the airports, you did your video today, Tyrone. Good coverage, by the way. The Pittsburgh airport getting ultra wideband. That all makes sense, and now, and this is part of the reason why I think people don't really believe in what Verizon's doing with the ultra wideband is because they don't connect to it. It either was not available in their market or they haven't been around to use it. Tyrone, it's incredible. Like I'm telling you right now, when I'm driving around Cleveland, there are so many nodes. There's so much ultra wideband, the 5G millimeter wave. It just one site to the next. They're connected, and we haven't even seen the use of the repeaters and the pivots and all of that. I mean, once that comes to fruition and it scales, then we're going to see no disconnections, right?
Yeah.
and the connection's going to get more resilient, and then it's going to go standalone, and it gets better and better.
Yeah.
And the channels get wider, and the service gets faster. It starts aggregating with C-band and CBRS and all these other things. I'm huge on 5G ultra wideband with millimeter wave. The only people I think are as big on it as myself is probably Carlos, and I think maybe Hector.
Yeah.
You know, I think the three of us are kind of, I mean, obviously you believe in it as a future technology.
Yeah.
I think Moose is a little bit more bullish on it, but honestly, dude, it's a big time technology. I think this summer people are going to realize what 5G ultra wideband really is. And if they don't believe in it, they're just hating on it. Honestly, I really feel like people are going to finally get to test it, connect to it. You know, as long as they got the phone, right? You're going to need an iPhone 12 or newer moving forward, right? Like a 13 or whatever.
Correct.
You're going to need a Galaxy S10 plus 5G or newer, right? You're going to need an LG V50 5G or newer. Like, you know, I mean, even those phones are going to be 2 years old at the end of this year. So, you know, get yourself a newer phone and enjoy the ride. It's great. It's not metered. You know, they don't count your hotspot. They give you 4K video. You know, it's all these great things that we've been dying for in 5G.
Yeah, so as we continue hyping up millimeter wave, because I truly still believe that's where 6G is headed, we're still now, even as the percentage may increase of more millimeter wave being deployed, we're still at the very early stages of what the end game looks like on the Verizon side. So end of this year, 30,000 nodes on air. That's likely barely phase one, and they probably have 10 other phases to go through. So there's, like you mentioned, there's the additional repeaters that will be incorporated. There's, you know, more fiber being laid out, and then more nodes will go on air beyond that 30,000. See, that's not the end game. There's, you know, they'll have to report on it because we don't know the exact numbers, but next year, are we going to go to 50,000? Are we going to 60? We don't know yet. And now that we're somewhat getting back to a normal, people are going to start returning to the airports, the stadiums, the arenas. So again, don't be surprised if all of a sudden Verizon's speed on Ookla and everywhere else start significantly picking up big time, because millimeter wave has that much bandwidth and throughput. So it'll offset any slower speeds that they have on an overall average, because millimeter wave is just that fast. It really is.
It's really a tremendous connection. The thing about the ultra wideband, you know, when we look at millimeter wave, is there's multiple advantages. Okay, so here's advantage number one is you are going to completely offload all LTE traffic, right? You are literally going to take a bunch of phones, probably hundreds, if not thousands at a time, off of the LTE network and onto the ultra wideband network, right? So right away, you've just completely alleviated the tower congestion, right? So that's the first thing. The next thing it does is it offers a unique experience. It allows you to monetize the higher tier plans. Do you see that, Tyrone, as being an advantage?
Yeah, I think it's an
Okay.
advantage. I think
You get people to upgrade their phones. You get people to buy and beyond for the next couple of years, right?
Yep, that's true. And the phones will get better at themselves. They'll have better radios, better chips. It's all going to come together at one point, and Verizon's going to have the last laugh. Let me just say that.
Yeah. And, you know, it's going to get really good with the help of C-band and CBRS too.
Yeah.
You know, I think you know, it's going to take some densification too. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. I find it very strange that there are so many people who don't understand the importance of millimeter wave. You know, I think that's kind of alarming. I no longer feel compelled to have to convince anybody that it's going to be important. I feel sorry for the people who don't see it my way, or don't see it the way of the advanced wireless networking teams. Every engineer I speak to tells me the same thing. Millimeter wave is amazing. Every engineer, every research paper that I read, every, what do we call them? Those white papers on the technologies. And not only that, but even the financial people, they do research and they build these reports. And it says the most cost-effective way to build a 5G network is use millimeter wave as much as possible. And then you have people saying that it's too expensive to deploy. Well, which one is it? It can't be both. It can't be more expensive to build millimeter wave if you got, firms saying it's actually more cost-effective. Really, I think what the problem is it's intimidating. It's time-consuming, it's tedious, and there's a lot of nodes involved. That's not the same as expensive. Time-consuming, it does not necessarily mean more expensive. Time-consuming means it's just going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of installations. In most places, it may require permitting. It may require to get past some red tape. I mean, there are cities still pushing back to this day, even though the FCC has clearly set those guidelines for 5G upgrades. But yeah, man, I think people, I find it strange that they don't get what millimeter wave represents. It is a true capacity layer. The truest.
Yep.
The widest, widest channels of incredible bandwidth. It's literally going to keep mid-band like really traffic free, like congestion free.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess some people will just never learn. I don't know.
And another thing too is it's really where the capacity is at, Sneed. I mean, they have 1,700 megahertz of it in some markets. I mean, in some markets in the future, when all that is deployed and the backhaul is proper, it's even going to make C-band look slow in some cases. And that's
100%. 100%.
Not saying that 800, 900 megabits per second is slow, but we could potentially see 5, 6, maybe even more gigs coming from millimeter wave in the future.
Tyrone, have we seen N41 get congested?
Yes, we've seen that already.
See? So people who say, oh, tish-tosh, millimeter wave is pointless, we've already seen N41 get congested.
Yeah.
So there's your mid-band that's so incredible. Well, don't you want to keep it free of congestion? I mean, I'm speaking from the outside looking in, like, you have to address, the truest capacity layer is the widest channels possible. I mean, we're going to be seeing 800 megahertz, on our devices next year with this next generation of modems, and we need that in mobile hotspots, and we need that, for the fixed wireless access. And, maybe you could say, well, we don't really need it for a handheld, but yeah, you do when you have 60, 70,000 people at First Energy Stadium in downtown Cleveland when frickin' Baker Mayfield is throwing tuds, to all these guys,
Yeah.
The crowd goes wild in Dallas, bro. They're going to need millimeter wave. Dak's going to be throwing TDs to Lamb, CD Lamb and those guys, man. Come on, bro. They got that new tight end. Wait, didn't they draft somebody? Who'd they draft? Another wide receiver or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. They got players, man. You're going to have a lot of people there, man. The pandemic is a thing of the past, apparently. Yeah. Everybody's ready to go into these places. All right, so Jarrett, let me explain that whole percentage thing. If Verizon builds out millimeter wave in every major market in the country, meaning every single city that has 1 million plus people, they would essentially have 70% of the country's population covered in millimeter wave. Because 70 to 80% of our country population is in a major city. So it's not hard to cover a lot of people because a lot of people live in these major markets. So Chicago, New York City. Bro, I think Chicago and New York City have 20 million people between those two cities. Right? Throw in Houston, San Francisco, LA, Philly, Boston. Man, if you take those top 10 markets, I bet you have at least 1/3 of the country's population in just those 8 cities. So I'm not talking geographical range. I'm just talking population. Uh, I don't. I don't know, Benjamin. I don't know. A 5G node work with 5G home internet, but not on your S21 Ultra. I would say either it's your SIM card or maybe try flashing airplane mode. I don't know. Using S21 and no issues with the ultra wideband. Me neither. I connect all the time. I've got an S21 Plus. Yo, John, long time no see, man. Thanks for coming through. Yeah. Jarrett, if Verizon covered this like New York City and Philly, they'd have 10% of the US population.
Yeah, they'll be there by the end of the year. Once everybody goes
Yeah.
back to all the places, they'll get there. They're at 5% now. They'll get to 10 end of the year.
Wait, I'm the exception to the rule? King Sniper, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm the exception to the rule. I think they've got, well, I don't know. Is every Verizon millimeter wave market like the CLE? They basically build out whatever they want. The cities don't tell them not to. Maybe. But there are 65, 70 cities now that have the ultra wideband.
Yeah.
And I think like 35 or something have the fixed wireless. So yeah, like you said though, another couple of years. Sure, I totally agree.
The only thing about the CLE really is, which is crazy, is there's not many markets that have as much market share as Verizon does in the CLE. There's
That's
not many
true.
markets.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of people.
Keon, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate you, man. If you can't deploy when and where you want it, then it's no good unless you can bully the local municipalities. Yeah, that's always going to be a problem. So San Francisco is trying to block T-Mobile from upgrading 5G tower sites, and they're going to lose.
Yep.
T-Mobile's going to win that, and unfortunately, it's just slowing down T-Mobile. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, the FCC changed the rules on those upgrades, and these cities just have to understand that they can't get in the way, and if they do, they're going to be eating up fines.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to eventually get out of the way anyways. Bro, the infrastructure's already there. We're talking about turning 4G sites into 5G sites.
Same towers that exist.
Same, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I get like the people in Houston that are pissed about the Verizon 5G nodes in the boxes. They're kind of aggravated by that, but I don't know, man. Yo, homie Scoop, what up, man? Z Fold 2 in Vegas on AT&T. Millimeter wave is okay. Verizon millimeter wave is fire. Yeah, they kind of got the market cornered on the millimeter wave right now.
Yeah, Verizon is really pioneering that millimeter wave. I mean, there's no other carrier right now that's even close to that. And I don't think AT&T or T-Mobile will ever match what Verizon's going to do with millimeter wave.
I mean, they forced the issue. You know, they said we want 50% of our urban traffic on millimeter wave.
Yep.
You put a target on it, you know.
And that probably shocked Siebert and Stanky. They probably were like, damn, 50%. They probably don't have numbers anywhere close to that, Sneed.
I wouldn't be surprised if 2025 we start looking at markets like the CLE and markets, you know, any of these top 46 PAs for Verizon. Don't be surprised if their average downlink speed is like 700.
Yeah.
You know, by 2025, seriously. You know, don't be surprised if, you know, T-Mobile's is somewhere in like the 400s, 500s, you know, but it's the difference maker is literally going to be the ultra wideband. You know, it's crazy.
I think so too with the ultra wideband. Verizon is being proactive on it because they know it's needed. T-Mobile's language when they talk about it is they know it's needed as well, especially with the home internet. But then they kind of talk about it in the sense like, oh, we'll wait until N41 is totally unusable and then we'll put millimeter wave into play. And that's not really how you go about it, because by that time, the demand is going to far exceed what you have in play. And then you're going to lose and shed some customers because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the fastest carrier title is kind of meaningless. You know, at the end of the day, you've got to be able to provide enough capacity for the customers you serve. You know, I've kind of resigned to the fact that, T-Mobile's the fastest carrier now in most cases, like speed testing.
Yeah.
Like they're a fast carrier. And I think it'll be that way probably through the first year of C-band. But then after that, it's just not going to be possible. Just the more and more the other two carriers densify C-band, it just closes that gap. But I don't even really think it matters all that much. Like, if T-Mobile is going to be just looking to serve 8 million customers in fixed wireless, well, then they've got whatever they need, right?
Yeah.
Verizon wants to serve 30 million in that same time frame. So that means they are going into the heart of cities to compete with cable companies. They're going to have to be fast. They're going to have to be able to promise, hey, when you're connected to an ultra wideband node, that you're going to get gigabit speed.
Yeah.
When you're on C-band, you're going to get at least 300 megabits down as a home internet connection. So, and T-Mobile's not doing any sort of thing like that.
No, they're
T-Mobile's
not
never going to say, no, they're not building a fixed wireless network. They're building a wireless network that's going to have a residual capacity that they could try to monetize.
Yeah, that's all it is. They're not building towards that. Like, when in wireless, if you have an issue where something doesn't load, you can, go to the next area, and there is another cell site that may be able to help you load or send that picture that you want to send. Mm-hmm. With fixed wireless, you're stationary at home. If that cell site is congested and it no longer meets your needs, there's nothing else you can go to. You have to go to another provider at that point. And that's what it's going to come down to. And that's where T-Mobile is going to have to, let those customers go, because there's nothing that they can't do anything about congestion, really. And it's going to take time to build additional spectrum out or get a new, millimeter wave node in that neighborhood. That's going to take some time, where Verizon's going to be there already. They're putting these, I've seen a couple more in El Paso. They're putting them dead smack in the neighborhood. It's one day to the next. Hey, neighbor, you got a small cell in your front yard, man.
Wait, so you're starting to see it in El Paso now, the millimeter wave nodes for Verizon?
Yeah, there was an article recently released in El Paso that El Paso is behind compared to other bigger cities in terms of the amounts of small cells that are out there. I think here the article stated, and I didn't know this, but there's about 208 millimeter wave nodes in El Paso already. And they're all Verizon's. Like, nobody else has built any millimeter wave nodes besides them.
So they are the ultra wideband carrier.
Yes, nobody has a single megahertz of millimeter wave in this market. It's just them. And that's it. And they're building it as aggressively as they think it needs to be. So on the east side of town is where they're building. Now they're expanding to downtown. They'll go to the west side of town as well, and they'll build them out. Will it be as many as Dallas or Houston? Probably not. That's kind of what the article was alluding to. But they'll get there. They'll have a very solid network, and they'll be able to compete, because here on the fixed wireless side, it's AT&T or Spectrum. And a lot of apartment complexes here have deals and contracts where only one or the other is available in that apartment complex. So it's either AT&T or Spectrum. You can't choose anybody else.
But Tyrone, if they put a node, I mean, they now start to compete.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even if there's legislation on, like, for example, let's say like those cable ISPs have like they've done their whole like mafia setup where only they are in those places. Verizon doesn't have to abide by those rules. They're a wireless network.
Yep.
Right? It's fixed wireless. So they can go in there and wreak havoc.
Yep, they can. They sure can.
Stephanie, long time no see. Glad you could come by tonight. Going well. Glad to see you made it to a live stream. I know it's been a while. Hope everything is good in your world. And thanks for coming through tonight. Yeah, they can go in there, guns blazing with a couple of nodes, just point them smack dab at like 50 apartment windows.
Yep.
And say, hey, we got this for $50 if you're a wireless subscriber. It's, $70 if you're not, if you put it on auto pay. and it automatically instantly competes with cable ISP. You know those people are paying at least $50-$60 for 300 down.
Yep.
Or 500 down. Verizon might get you gigabit speed today, which could become multi-gig speed later, and then the uplink. Cable ISPs traditionally offer somewhere between 10 and 30 megabits uplink.
Yep, unless it's fiber, and that's very small footprint.
Right.
Today in the U.S. So, yeah, Verizon's going to be able to compete instantly. Very
Hey,
quickly.
Benton, good to see you. Thanks for coming and stopping by tonight. Appreciate you. Yeah, man. It's going to be a big-time product. I will say, though, I do think that the T-Mobile home internet customer is different than the Verizon home internet customer.
Yeah.
It's a little different expectation. It's a little bit different, kind of guidance. Like, who is this for? Maverick, you're funny. Verizon is the barbecue of wireless network carriers, pricey and worth it. So they're basically marinated brisket, huh? Okay. All right. All right, man. What else, Tyrone? Did you see Carlos's picture that he posted to Twitter?
Which one?
It was the one with the N41 versus the AT&T LTE.
Yeah, I saw that when I sent it to Moose.
Yeah, man. What's the story on that, man? What's the story, dog?
Well, that's in a realistic world that should not be possible, because T-Mobile is using spectrum that's next generation spectrum, and there's not that many people on that spectrum. I know on a nationwide basis they say it's like 10 million devices or whatever, but on individual markets that number becomes way smaller. So there's no way a 5G connection that has 60-80 megahertz of dedicated spectrum, including the LTE, is just as fast as a LTE connection that has gained no additional new spectrum until C-band is fully cleared. So what happens? You go back to that same area, that same exact spot that Carlos took that speed test. What happens when AT&T deploys 80 megahertz of C-band in that same spot? Who's going to be the faster speed? It's a no-brainer. It's going to be AT&T.
Yeah,
Easily.
T-Mobile's going to have to start investing in the backhaul upgrades this year. I think it's got to be like, if we look at N41 as a phase, in phases, I think getting the antenna hardware up, getting the basebands, the radios, everything, all the upgrades on tower sites, right? So we're just talking about the traditional hardware broadcasting the signal. I think the fiber optic is like phase 2. I think that's where we're going to start to see the real capacity come into play. So if they've got, fiber optic or possibly even microwave backhaul in some cases, get the correct capacity fiber there, then we start to see the 7, the 800. You showed me a picture, Tyrone. You said it's doing gigabit speed. I had a very hard time accepting that as possible because I'm so used to the 250, the 300.
Yeah. But even those cases, Nina, it's very rare. The reason it's very rare is because even under LTE in a lot of markets, the circuits that the backhaul circuits that Verizon and AT&T had deployed were able to handle more backhaul versus T-Mobile's. T-Mobile had some circuits deployed like in New York City and such that could do multi-gig, but that was at a very small scale even during LTE. It was only markets where they had really high penetration, like LA, El Paso, New York. And now, even if AT&T and Verizon were to not upgrade the circuits and leave the LTE backhaul, they would still have faster speeds than T-Mobile's 5G because they have capability of higher throughput. So T-Mobile at a larger scale now, not only do they have to boost the backhaul, but they also have to add in the proper circuit links to go to 5 and 10 gig, which they haven't done. Are they doing that now with the N41 upgrades? Are they knocking that out? Maybe. But that remains to be seen because we have yet to see the type of speed boost that they've said. They said we would hit gig speeds peak and off peak times. And We very rarely see that. I haven't seen anybody hit over a gig yet on just N41 at 2 a.m. in the morning.
You remember when they did that whole thing in Philly? You remember when Neville was tweeting the gigabit speed? It was using LAA and N41. You remember that?
Yeah, I was using other Spectrum assets.
LAA is unlicensed.
Yeah,
it's 5
trash.
gigahertz. You got to be standing 50 feet from that freaking tower site.
MMWave has better range than that shit.
Much better. Much better. Yeah, unbelievable, man. J.R. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Yeah, bro. Hey, we got to call a spade a spade. Like I said, they've got until whenever the heck Verizon and AT&T can start broadcasting and transmitting C-band. Once N77 and N78 is out there, I mean, that's it, Tyrone. Like the Verizon and the AT&T networks are now there's 5G network parity.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell they're saying, man.
Yeah,
I don't really care, bro. I don't like, to me, 5G NSA is basically just really, 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 really fast LTE. Low band doesn't get me excited. As a 5G connection, I don't. Mid band's good and the millimeter wave's good, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, Sneed, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the score, but Philadelphia's trashing Washington right now.
Yeah. So was I right?
Yeah. 117 to 94.
Yeah.
With 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Just prepare for the next game. Is that game 3? Is this one game 3?
Yeah, game 3.
So they'll be up 3-0, right?
Yeah, they'll sweep them.
Yeah, that's a wrap, bro. Couldn't be worse than the Heat series,
Yeah.
they just laid down, man.
They're going fishing for real. They got a lake right there. Big old ocean.
All right, so Boost Mobile going postpaid. I mean, I think eventually they have to, right?
Yeah, I would be surprised if Dish kept calling it Boost Mobile. I think they might change it, maybe Dish Network or something.
I don't know, DishNet.
DishNet, yeah. It's just Dish is a very interesting business right now because even their traditional TV is hurting. The best part of the business apparently is Sling TV, and even that sucks. What many are telling me, so I don't.
I used to like it when I had it. I had it a number of years ago. I'd say maybe 6 years ago. It was like, were you an early cord cutter, Tyrone? Because I was an early cord cutter. Like I cut the cord and went streaming TV like 2013, maybe 14.
Yeah, I didn't do it that early. I tried in the.
Okay, so yeah, you were experimenting, but your cable was better, right?
Yeah, at first it still was. I tried to experiment with it in 16, 17 Sneed when DirecTV came out with that streaming stuff, and then Sling TV got going. But they're on the larger scale, there really wasn't a lot of competition. But early on, it was kind of still shaky to where when I had Spectrum at my old place, Spectrum still had a better service.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, streaming has become, other than that lag that they say that's in there, where if you have the traditional cable or satellite,
it's like what, 4 seconds or something.
Yeah, 4 seconds.
5 seconds.
Other than that, streaming it's now the same. It's right up there. It's reached parity, as T-Mobile says.
Sure.
So.
Right. Oh man, this parody business. Hey Randy, thank you for that super chat. Big shout out to everybody who offered a super chat. I think Keon had one earlier. There may have been another one somewhere in there. So thank you guys for those donos. Got myself on Ting because I want to help Dish disrupt the industry. I've asked 21 and T-Mobile 5G. Surprisingly, T-Mobile is better in my area. Randy, I don't know if I'd be surprised. I mean, they're really aggressively trying to do this 5G thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to get ahead. So I can't say I'm surprised. I'm just hoping that it's a good, reliable connection for you. And, you can count on it. That's the end game.
Somebody says Sling Mobile.
Oh, Troy's going to be slinging that mobile. Stephanie said, definitely early cord cutter. I really never watched TV. It got boring. So I watch shows on Netflix and other streaming services.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
that
think
works
being
too.
able to consume it while on the go and stuff, it kind of has its advantages. Yeah, and it would make sense that, with Boost Mobile, they've got a K Health Services Association now. They're doing the DraftKings. I don't know if you saw that story, Tyrone. They got the DraftKings partnership now.
Yeah, what are they trying to do with that? What
Betting.
is that?
It's contests and betting. Yeah.
Yeah, but is there a double meaning? Is that something they can maybe use marketing towards, or hey, we're not part of DraftKings, or
I think what they do is they create a unique partnership. Maybe it's not. I don't think it's designed to be a disruptor. I think what it is by having those contests. And let's say, for example, you're on Boost Mobile and you have autopay set, it qualifies you for an entry for free. And some of these contests, I guess, are going to be worth $100,000.
God damn.
It might be, it might be worth it. Like people will be like, well, if I'm on Cricket, I mean, what are they doing special for me? Or if, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'll DM Peter Adderton and we'll get him to hang out and give us his opinion on that one.
Oh my God, Pete's great, man. He's hilarious. He liked my most recent tweet when I reminded him about how AT&T makes its customers pay their property tax. He got a kick out of that.
When we made those videos about T-Mobile confirming internally that they are shutting CDMA down next year, people were like, has anybody been checking in on Peter? How he's doing?
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that was Barry, wasn't it? Barry was the one who commented that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's, Peter Adderton's a good guy, and he wants nothing but good things for the competitive space for wireless customers. And, he had a huge stake in Boost in the the early days of it, and he just wants to see them succeed. And of course, everybody benefits with a more competitive marketplace.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to feel bad for the profits of corporations. I don't. Tyrone, do you care?
I don't care. I pay them. They don't pay me.
Exactly. So we just want, bro, I don't know if you saw my video this morning it was like a snippet from, the podcast. And I was saying how, T-Mobile and how they, Mike Sievert said that we're still dragging around the Sprint churn. Clearly, he's blaming Sprint customers for their churn rates, right?
Yep.
So, and then a Magenta Thong showed up, dude, and came in wanted to fight, dude. And I think what people need to understand that come in and start defending any carrier, you want to come in and defend AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon, I don't care. I don't care who you spend your money with, which carrier you use. I don't care if you're an investor or if you work for them. I don't care, but I don't invest in them and I don't work for them. I only care about the consumer. So me and you, right? So me to that person, that Magenta Thong, we're in two different worlds.
Yep.
You're in a world where you think you have to defend that corporation. I'm in a world where I don't care about that corporation. And I never will. Because I'm a person who has to buy wireless service.
Yep.
So I don't care.
That's true, Sneed. By the way, who's that Who's that recent troll that came by? You, what's his name? Peter something?
Oh, man,
you living in his head rent free, huh?
I don't know, dude. He wants me to, and I told him, I was like, listen, son, you better have respect. I'm your father. That was the last tweet I sent.
Man,
what are you gonna do, Tyrone? There's people,
he's the kind of guy that's mad at breakfast.
I know. He wakes up and he's like, why is the sun up?
Yeah, that guy is.
Good morning. What's so good about it?
Yeah. That guy's
what else, Tyrone? What else we got to cover? I mean, there's a couple other stories we could touch on. Is there anything else?
I think just really quickly, I think it's something I know that we don't know what direction it's going to go in next year, but we're very close to the HBO Max ad-supported version launching in a few days. I think it launches in June. I just wanted to. I had discussed this earlier in maybe you and some of the people in the comment section can give their input. So the pricing of the ad-supported version is $9.99. I think that was made official. And it's going to bring ads to the platform, and you do not get the day one movies for the rest of the year.
All right.
The premium version gives you all of the movies, and it takes the ads away for $14.99.
So
I know
$5. $5.
So I know right now we're still recovering, and the economy is not where it needs to be, and some people are still hurting. But is the price discrepancy that big, the extra $4.99, that you're going to leave the $14.99 product and go to the $9.99? Or if you are signing up and you're sitting there looking at both the pros and the cons, I mean, it's natural that you're just going to sign up for the $14.99, and unless that price increases in the future, that's a possibility. Maybe that's what they're hinting towards with that price of $9.99. But most people are going to get the $14.99 package. So I'm wondering, was it even worth it to release that ad-supported version?
Real quick, and we'll wait for those comments to drop into the live chat. Randy with the $5 super chat. Boost is going to run on that Tucson software that Dish acquired Ting to get. That is true. That'll get their postpaid side running and operating, I'm sure. If Boost runs postpaid like Ting, they'll probably disrupt postpaid. I agree. I think it's true. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think the end game for us is what type of access is Boost postpaid going to be like? Is it going to feel like a T-Mobile Magenta Plus plan? Is it going to feel more like an AT&T Elite plan? Or are they going to be more like a starter unlimited, just postpaid? What is that going to be like? I don't know.
So I want to chime in on this real quick, Sneed, because that's a very interesting take on who's going to be disruptive. So when the Uncarrier first got started, when John became the CEO of T-Mobile, the industry was boring as it has ever been. It was 2-year contracts, phone subsidies, $99. You had to buy the phone. You got to keep it for 2 years.
Tyrone, I hated paying my wireless bill in that era. It was expensive. Yeah. You weren't getting much. You were on bucket plans, dude, and you were paying everything. It was horrible.
Yep. Yeah, it was terrible. So then T-Mobile came in, and in business they say sometimes you have to come in at the right time with a certain trend. That's kind of sometimes how you become really successful in business. And to me, that timing was just right for T-Mobile to really be the disruptor at that time, because the industry was boring. It lacked color. It was just whack, right? Streaming started picking up. People were capped. They were like, I can't even stream this song or I'll be over my cap and I got to pay. So
yeah, good point, Tyrone. That's true. Mm-hmm.
That was a very good time to be disruptive. Now, the way the wireless industry is, I don't want to say there's not a competitor that can come in and be disruptive, but what is left for another carrier to come in and be disruptive without them racing to the bottom? I mean, everything is getting more expensive. The equipment has to be deployed. So that's what Dish is going to be faced with. Are they going to start running, 7 lines for $100? What are they going to do to be disruptive? Verizon's running the value play, so there's really not much you can kind of do there, because I got to say, they have the best value in wireless now with everything that they're offering, and they may not be done. We don't know what that looks like, 6 months from now. But, what can Dish do to become disruptive?
Status quo would mean they would just try to bundle up Sling or something, right? Some kind of a TV streaming service. What do you do about Hotspot? What are you going to do revolutionary? Magenta Max now includes what, Tyrone, 50 gigs?
Yeah, you can make that unlimited. That's a possibility. You could be disruptive on that.
Which, sheesh, bro.
That's tough.
I mean, I don't know how you're right. The other side to that is, what are you going to do? Taxes and fees included? Basically, what I'm saying is, are you going to come in?
T-Mobile does that.
Like T-Mobile. Yeah. Are you going to come in and just try to disrupt the disruption.
Yeah.
You know?
The only thing where I think Dish could be disruptive if they come in with no retail. They have to be all digital, because then they cut the overhead. Then they may be able to work pricing.
Is retail ready for that? Because Visible has very little market share.
Yeah, very little. So I don't know, but I know that part of the merger agreement, I think what Dish retained some of the Sprint stores. I think that was part of it.
It's up 2 phones.
So I think that was part of it, that they get some of the Sprint retail locations. So you're right, Steve. Maybe we don't know. Maybe the retail's not ready for that yet to go all digital. I mean, there's still a lot of people that are in. You wouldn't
be an option for everybody. You'd be an option for some bodies.
Yeah.
It's like, traditional Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, they serve all customers. An all digital platform would only serve, and you'd be trying to take customers from places, that you're working at a deficit, that you got your back up against the wall.
Exactly.
What's up?
And what could they offer that T-Mobile's not offering right now? I mean, T-Mobile's doing free lines. It's like, what?
When are you going to do that? Buy one, get one for the first year of your deal. Jared with the super chat, #kick rocks. Knicks win game 4. My Metro gives me 800 down in Charlotte. Wow, holy crap! Must be a lot of N41 out there. No other way, right?
I mean, I'm not trying to be a psychic or look into the future. I mean, what if Dish gets going in a couple of years, and then Verizon and AT&T get to a certain scale, and then T-Mobile's like, I got to merge with Dish to gain scale. It's like, what is that leading to? Is it time to say that a 3-carrier market is fine if there's strong MVNOs? Could that be a possibility, Sneed? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. 2 phones, they're essentially going to be on LTE and 5G on the T-Mobile network. And then in the meanwhile, they're also going to be building their own native network, which is going to be all 5G. So it'll be, like N66. So it'll be like band 66, band 4, the AWS. They have PCS holdings, don't they? Yeah. So it'll be like N2. They have 700 megahertz, 600 megahertz. So it'll be like N71, N12. And then I think one of their blocks of AWS is actually going to be N70 or N73. It's just a version of AWS 4, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think they got 700, Sneed. I think they got 600 and 800. They got the band.
Oh, they got 700. They got 700. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, they sure do. But you know how it is, Tyrone. They've got, all their sub-6 combined, I think, is about 97 megahertz national.
Yeah, it'll be fast at first, but if they gain any market share with the way that the data usage is exploding, they'll slow down.
Now they got
significantly.
They do have 10 to 20 megahertz national of the CBRS. So that definitely takes them closer to the 120 megahertz that Verizon has before C-band. Yeah.
But if they operate like that, Sneed, they would have to build densification at kind of what Verizon was doing during LTE with the lack of spectrum.
Yeah, they're going to definitely have to scale as they go.
Yep.
There's going to be they're going to have to be a very nimble, very easily pivoting company. So let's say they pick up traction in Vegas, the Vegas market, and all of a sudden their average downlink speeds drop. They go from 100 to 60 megabits in 1 quarter. Yeah. Because they had 1 million customers in Vegas or something. I don't know, something crazy. Yeah. They're gonna definitely have to scale it. Yeah, you got it. 2 phones, no problem. They had me selling sound bars, headphones. Why not sell and repair phones? P.S. This is why I left Bit. What? Oh my God, bro! I've heard about them fixing washers and stuff. Is that true?
Yeah, they got field techs that do everything, man. They fix refrigerators. They'll even change your oil, man. Those suckers do everything, man. Yeah,
My
it's
goodness.
crazy. Therald told me about that in Ocala. he had to get his Samsung washer fixed, and it said, "Hey, man, Dish Network is on its way." He's like, "What?"
That's nuts. I didn't even know that was a thing, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Besides a few perks here and there, I can't see them being able to offer a lot that someone else isn't. That's right, Steph. I don't know. I mean, come on, man. What is there left to do?
Yeah, that's right, man.
The only other thing is just pricing.
Yeah. If they get any crazier, then it would become absurd. Like if they say,
but then you're not profitable, you know.
Yeah, we're going to offer you plane tickets to go to France. You know, then they don't become profitable.
Yeah, it's N41. I think was that AWS4. Yeah. I knew it was some crazy band. Yeah,
I do think they can do a little better than pink thongs and hand sanitizer and
yeah, that bar is pretty low. I agree with you there, Tyrone. The thong with the with the cheeks out.
Yeah, they could do a little better than that.
Jeez, you got to drive 15 miles to get $1 hand sanitizer, bro.
Yeah, you can get a little bit more creative than that.
Could you imagine being one of those rural America towns that just got a couple of T-Mobile towers in their area, and then they got a T-Mobile store, and you live 18 miles from the T-Mobile store, and you drive out to get that little hand sanitizer on Tuesday?
Yeah.
You're like, look here, buddy. You better give me 2 of those.
Yeah.
Oh man. AT&T already tried 4 TVs, 4 phones for $200 a month. It didn't work. Wow. That actually seems like a pretty good value, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And nobody wants that, really? Yeah, it is going to be tough for them, but they could do it as long as they have something disruptive that they want to offer. But here's the thing. You got to do not the same exact thing T-Mobile did, like not the same exact perks and all that, but you have to come in like T-Mobile did with John Legere in 2011, 2012. You have to create a buzz about your company. Like it was, like, you remember how John did that, Tyrone? He created a buzz, dude.
Yeah, but he wasn't the CEO that we were used to either. So that was his buzz by himself. I mean, he came in dropping F-bombs, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Like, nobody speaks like that. That's a professional CEO.
Yeah. Nuts.
And that's crazy. I think they have an opportunity to become disruptive on the ARPU, because I think they could come in and say, look, we'll give you 4 lines for 160, and we'll give you Sling TV for free for 4 TVs.
But they're gonna have to come in talking that taxes and fees too, man.
Yeah, taxes and fees included. I don't know what the profits will look like on that, because it's still going to cost them something to keep that TV running. But if they offered that for free and allowed 4 TVs to connect to that, and do 4 lines for 160, I think that could be a pretty disruptive. We haven't had anybody yet come out and give you free TV, so that might be something. But then, like you said, that's kind of playing with the profits. So, so it's just going to be really, really tough. Maybe they do. You get a free PlayStation if you get 4 lines. I don't know. Like I said, if you want to top the value play and being disruptive, I mean, you're going to have to step it up a whole nother notch, and that would be something, crazy. But I guess it would be like giving you a gift card for $400 or $500, like
for switching.
Yeah, for switching.
Right. Big shout out to Randy, another super chat. Thanks for your generosity, bud. Dish is planning dedicated 5G networking for business that includes MVNOs. Fact. That is all fact. The only issue is, Randy, is they are obligated by FCC and DOJ regulations that they still have to commercially deploy consumer wireless.
Yes.
So
they have to.
we don't doubt their chops to try to come in and heavily emphasize IoT and networking as a service, ultra low latencies, unique network slicing. I mean, their approach to Open RAN and vRAN and all those things. That's the one advantage that Dish has. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile all have legacy tech that has to play catch up. So like they have sites pre-existing, but what Dish is going to have to do for enterprise is going to be all new anyways. So they get to literally do something from scratch that nobody else has done. There's no blueprint. There's no follow the leader. They get to be a trailblazer in a way, right? They call it a greenfield 5G network starting from scratch without any pre-existing LTE. It's not going to be NSA. It's not going to be LTE based. There's no anchor. It's going to be a standalone 5G networking protocol, and they will be calling their own shots, and nobody could tell them they're wrong until we see it, right? But when it comes to the consumer side, you, myself, like our consumer wireless lines, that's where it's going to be harder for them. I'm going to drop the video tomorrow, so I'll give you guys the heads up. There's a snippet that I'm going to be dropping from the podcast from when me and Moose, I think we ran the Friday show a couple weeks ago. Me and Moose went in on Dish, very jokingly, playfully, tongue-in-cheek. The truth is, what is going to be viewed as successful for consumer wireless for Dish? 10 million customers in the first 2 years? Like, to me, I'd say that's going to be hard to do because clearly people are polarizing, magnetized to T-Mobile. When people leave Verizon or AT&T, they go to T-Mobile, right? They at least consider them because of pricing. You know what I'm saying, Tyrone? They at least look their way. And, if the network is just good enough, they will gladly switch for the cheaper price. I've heard people already concede to me and tell me, yeah, I have to use Wi-Fi a lot more, but I'm cool. I'm saving a lot of money. My brother-in-law told me that. He said ever since the pandemic thing started, he goes, I had AT&T. I just literally went to T-Mobile because it's cheaper. Bro, they gave him he got 2 lines for him and his wife. They gave him a 3rd line for free and a free iPhone on that line. And they all got free iPhones. Yeah. So 3 free iPhones. He switched from AT&T. They paid the cost to cancel his bill, and then he got a free line. It just sits there with his brand new iPhone 11. So, I mean, as long as T-Mobile's doing that stuff, people are going there, and Dish has to compete with that.
Yeah, and that's what you mentioned earlier, Sneed, that T-Mobile's trying to cancel Dish before they get started. And they may not directly be saying that, but you can tell it in their offers. There's hardly any way Dish can compete with that. Their goal is to do what Sprint was trying not to do, which was operate at a loss. And that's what Dish is not trying to do. They're not trying to operate at a loss. But if T-Mobile's that competitive early on, Dish may have to operate at a loss just to grow its customer base.
Me personally, I think Dish is going to have to partner with a lot of organizations and businesses.
Yep.
And I mean locally, like Tech Life, Tyrone, El Paso. What are the segments of your city? East side, north. Like, what do you got?
Yeah, east, west, northeast, lower valley, upper
you got
valley.
Exact. Okay, so like they need to partner in these markets with local businesses. They need to get in front of people. They need to be up on the walls. They need to be at the doors. They need, they have to be up in your face. Anytime there's an opportunity for switchers, you've got to have them. Incentives and stuff, And whether it's something like Stephanie was saying about unlocked phones and stuff, I mean, that's cool, But, I mean, you got to get them in,
And another thing is, too, right now, it's another negative for Dish with all this fixed wireless. These carriers are deepening the relationship with the customer.
Tyrone,
more.
I have to ask you this. You have to answer him. You don't work around. Don't tiptoe. Shoot me straight, bro. Is Dish's network going to be better than T-Mobile's?
Whoa. Is there a time frame? Or right in 2027 when they have to get them on the network?
Let's do that. 2027.
That's going to be tough, Sneed. I'm going to have to say no. I'm going to have to say T-Mobile is going to be better.
But you thought about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
thought
watch
about it.
this. Okay, now watch this. Is Dish's native network going to be better than AT&T's in 2027?
No.
Look how fast you did that.
Yeah.
Is it going to be better than Verizon's?
No. Not even close. It won't even be close.
This, my friend, is why you and me are on the same page. And this is why T-Mobile wants to bury Dish before they even get started.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tim McDonald on Twitter, you've seen our interactions. I follow him. You know, good perspective on things. He disagrees. He does not think T-Mobile's trying to bury Dish. I 100% think T-Mobile's trying to bury Dish.
Yep.
Because Dish is in their way.
Yep.
You know, like Dish, that's the thing. Like T-Mobile has things they want to do and accomplish. So Dish is, you know, does an ant have a quarrel with a boot? Of course not. But you're going to step on him if it's in your way.
Yeah, they're trying to bury Dish, Boost, Metro dealers, anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody in the way. AT&T, Verizon, they're trying to bury them all.
All right, Steph. I know Steph has been in retail for quite a while. Who says the carrier charges the manufacturer MSRP? It's a smart marketing idea. You charge for the plan, plus you charge a bit more for the phone. Yeah, I mean, Tyrone, didn't Sprint capitalize on the leasing tomfoolery? I mean, part of their retail business model was screwing people on their leases and having them pay for their leases for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's what they. I think all carriers in some way, shape, or form did that. So when the 2-year contracts were around, people thought that when they go in and they pay that $199 or $99 price for the phone, that phone was theirs. But in reality, the carrier included some of that price into the monthly bill that they were paying.
They sure did. Remember the line access fee of $20?
Yeah.
$30?
Hell, back then Sprint was charging you $10 for LTE, and you never had it. You had
I didn't know they were doing that.
Data
Holy
plan,
crap!
or whatever it was. I forgot what it was. Going from a flip phone to a smartphone, you had to pay an extra $10 for data. It was unlimited, but you had to pay that extra $10. So they always try to nickel and dime you, however they can. And Sprint did it with the leasing, but then towards the end, Sprint was getting kind of crazy. They were offering consumers employee discounts, and that was just a mess, man. Kickback.
I mean, you want to talk about desperation, man. Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, they were doing $30, $20 plans. T-Mobile's doing free lines. I mean, at least Sprint was getting something.
It almost makes you wonder, like, how in the world did Verizon keep 130 million subscribers through all of that?
All of that.
like Verizon's network must legitimately have been so much better at the time that you know, like the only way that T-Mobile was getting Verizon customers was like Verizon had to have screwed somebody, you know, and the T-Mobile network had to have proved just enough to compete, you know. And I remember for the longest time, man, like I hated it. I hated the fact that the only carrier I could have in Ohio was Verizon.
Yeah.
I hated that. It sucked not being able to choose because, like, I wanted to try AT&T. I wanted to try T-Mobile. But, like, I didn't want to go with T-Mobile because literally all of my cousins had T-Mobile. And half the time I called them, they wouldn't answer. Yeah. And then I'd text them. They'd call me back like 12 minutes later. I'm like, dude, I needed you 10 minutes ago. Where were you?
Yeah.
He's like, bro, I don't have a missed call. I swear, Tyrone, that happened for like 10 years.
Yeah.
That was basically the last 10 years. Now it's not an issue.
Yeah.
You know, now that stuff doesn't happen, but it was because of coverage.
Yeah,
you know?
it was. It really was. I mean, around the time when Sprint was getting more aggressive, and a lot of people said they were copying T-Mobile, you know, matching them kind of when T-Mobile was doing on carrier. Sprint really didn't have the network in any capacity to gain any customers. They had, for the longest part, their network was band 25, 5 megahertz. They had no low band or band 41 on it. So it was a terrible experience. So if a Verizon customer decided to go to Sprint, they would return within the allotment of the buyer remorse. Within that 14 days, Sneed, they would cancel that contract and they would go back with Verizon. That's how bad Sprint was.
It happens. Yeah, I remember that, and also T-Mobile was going through those things too.
Yeah, T-Mobile was. They were going from HSP to LTE, and it was a mess. They were all trying to catch Verizon. Verizon already had established the LTE footprint. It was modernized to the standards of that time. It was getting denser. They had the largest network already. If you weren't on Verizon, like you mentioned, you just didn't have the same experience. And the network at that time, it was very well managed because they didn't have unlimited until,
And people, Tyrone, like the way that people use their phone now, it's not, it's actually, it's two problems, right? It's the sheer number of phones on the network, and it's the amount of younger people on the network.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were to poll the average user 50 years or older, what do you think, Tyrone? 5 gigs a month?
Maybe. That's a maybe.
Go down into the 40s, like 40 years of age, 40 to 49.
Yeah,
does that double or triple?
Yeah, it picks up drastically.
And then our generation.
Oh my God.
We're in our 30s. Like, we use our phones as productivity tools.
Yes.
I don't even have social media apps on my phone. I mean, I have Twitter for the channel. I don't even have a personal Twitter. Yeah. I've got my YouTube. That's it. People in their 20s and their teens, it's all social media video. It's Instagram. The network, literally the usage probably has increased 40 to 50% data consumption every year for the last 10 years.
And it's only getting worse.
Right. So
it's only getting worse. People make a living off their phones now. They do Uber. They do food delivery. That all requires data. You have to have it.
Very true. And simultaneously, you're running multiple apps, each consuming its own piece of bandwidth.
Yeah. Music while delivering food.
Tyrone, when I drove for Uber and Lyft, the music player was on, Pandora, Spotify, whatever. The GPS was on. And you don't just run GPS in GPS mode. You want it on the highest accuracy, so that's GPS and data.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll also run the app, right? And you'll make calls over all of that. And at the time I was using Verizon, I had an AT&T line as well, but I was running an unlocked Google Nexus. So every time I would call my customers to say, hey, I'm here, or could you let me know where you're at, it would boot me into HSPA.
Oh, man.
So that's why I ended up just walking away from AT&T because of that.
Yeah.
Because Verizon was giving me the full features on unlocked devices. They didn't care.
Everything.
You were willing to pay for their expensive service. They gave you it all,
Yeah, but that's what it was back then. It was really the largest. I remember there were areas 20, 25 miles outside of city limits where only Verizon worked, even here. AT&T really never expanded out that way. And if they did, it was barely getting still HSPA back then, at one bar. And T-Mobile was non-existent. Sprint wasn't existent either. So it was really just Verizon. And I think people still deal with that in the back of their head. Hey, I had somebody before Verizon, they didn't work there. And I had, maybe they needed to call somebody important, or they had an important call missed. I know somebody that had T-Mobile a couple years ago that lost a job because of it. Because it couldn't get through. Yeah. Wow. So it was either Verizon or nobody for many, many Americans, and that perception still lies with a huge amount of people.
Mostly, mostly, yeah, true. Randy with the super chat, thank you, man. T-Mobile can try to bury Dish all they want. Dish will just fight back, and with how the FCC now is holding back Verizon track phone merge, T-Mobile trouble. Yeah, those are dynamic things that are going to be changing. I don't know about the situation with Dish fighting back. They have to, right? Nobody wants to get slaughtered in business. Who wants to lose billions? So I agree with you there, most definitely. They most definitely will fight back. But I do think they have to do something unique. They have to distinguish themselves, Tyrone. If there is no distinguishing factor, like why do I want to be on Dish? You know, Dish is a new company to wireless. What are they doing different that Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile aren't doing? You know, it's going to be the tough part, you know?
That is. Now, another tough question is Charlie and his team approaching it in that way? Are they sitting at the dinner table in the boardroom?
How do we
they
disrupt?
saying, how do we disrupt? How do we
Yeah.
be different than the others? Is that even a possibility? You know,
If they come in matching Verizon and AT&T pricing, they're not going to get business.
nope, it's done.
And if they don't have unique experiences, they're not taking T-Mobile customers.
Nope, they are not.
Are they going to try to serve a new type of customer that doesn't exist today? Like I don't get it. You know,
Yeah.
like how are they going to do it? I mean, what's going on? I'd love to be a fly on the wall, man.
Yeah,
I
I
really,
really
would.
would. I really would too. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work out, Sneed. I have no idea. And in some of the hearings on the trial during the merger, you know, when all of a sudden Dish became that front runner on the fourth carrier, it was never really discussed on how they would create that fourth player to be successful. All I ever heard was, yeah, Dish is going to come in and they're going to be the fourth player. And then we thought that they would have to be disruptive, like, you know, like we're saying now. We were saying that they would have to be disruptive to gain customers. But
Sure.
then the wireless market has already drastically shifted to where everybody's in tough competition now. I mean, AT&T is doing crazy phone deals. Verizon's hurting, so I'm sure they're gonna eventually do something to offset that. And you know, T-Mobile's doing free lines.
Dish has to become the small business carrier.
Yep.
Dish has to become the gaming carrier. Dish has to become some kind of an automation robotics carrier. They have to do all those things. They have to create their lane. I think that's what it's going to boil down to, Tyrone. I don't know if you agree, but they have to create a lane.
They have to. Is there? Could they just be prepaid? I don't know, Sneed. I don't think they can compete
Sheesh.
in the big market. There's no space. There's just no
Well, you're gonna
space,
have to-
especially now as T-Mobile is trying to change their perception and the brand image, and they're getting deeper into rural. I mean, how does Dish compete? You know, how do they
Yeah,
compete?
good points. Good points.
How do they compete?
Big shout out to Mark. Thank you for that super chat. Appreciate it. No question or comment, just a donation. So thank you, Mark. Thanks for that, buddy. You know, to be honest with you, Yasser, look, if you are in the market for a new phone, you're looking to upgrade. If you're an iPhone user, the iPhone 13 makes a lot of sense. C-band will be basically on air or very close, approaching to on air. You know, an iPhone 13 makes sense if you're going to upgrade through iPhones. If you're going to be a Galaxy user and you still haven't gotten a 5G phone, the S22 makes a lot of sense. It'll be next level 5G ready.
If
right?
you're on
And if
T-Mobile,
you're a
you
Google
should.
user, yeah. If you're a T-Mobile customer, get the hell off the LTE, dude. They're basically screaming at you to get off of this crap.
Yeah.
Right. So appreciate it. Thanks for that comment. What's up, Moose?
I'm back. I apologize. I'm over here at the Windstar Casino over here in Oklahoma. Das is very fired up here. There's like about 10,000 people, maybe even more,
What?
all on AT&T here, man, and it's performing beautifully, man. I can't say the same about T-Mobile. Cannot say the same about T-Mobile. I'm telling you, dog. I'm reporting live directly from Windstar.
Hey, big shout out to Randy. Another super chat. Thank you. Dish has an executive that was part of T-Mobile and Carrier. What is his name? Kirby? Wayne Kirby?
Yeah, they picked up the Sprint and the T-Mobile executives pretty much.
I think that brings some wireless chops to the team. You know what I'm saying, Tyrone?
Yeah, but even those guys are scratching their heads. They're like, hey, we already came up with all these Un-carrier moves. What do we do now?
Damn. I think some of those guys predate all of that. They're like 06, 05. I mean, they were there when it was just calling and texting, dog.
Yeah.
You know, they were there at like the 3G development stages. You know, Thanks
By the
for
way,
that super
Sneed,
chat. Bro.
so what topics were really heavily covered here? Because I wanted to chime in on a couple if you don't mind.
Moose, I will allow you to scratch the surface on any of them. We talked about the 2.5 gigahertz re-auctioning. We talked the fragmentation, the non-contiguous nature of the T-Mobile N41. We spoke to the Verizon 5G ultra wideband on the eastern seaboard. The scaling of the ultra wideband. I think, with the way the pandemic happened, Verizon didn't get a chance to really flex to get a lot of people on that connection. Now we're going to see that happening. And then me and Tyrone also spoke to AT&T LTE and how it was able to compete with N41 and Carlos's speed testing, like the importance of fiber optic backhaul and proper networking. And then we talked about Dish quite a bit, actually, as a competitor. So, I mean, any of that, have at it, bro.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is my thing. If we're going to give exclusivity of 2.5 to T-Mobile, I think it's in the best interest of the U.S. to give T-Mobile exclusivity 2.5 gigahertz, right? 2.5, N41 exclusively to T-Mobile. However, if they do give exclusivity to T-Mobile of that 2.5 band, it's only fair that they are excluded from any additional auctions, and I'll explain why. If you combine the existing 2.5 spectrum holdings with the additional 120 megahertz 2.5 holdings, we're talking nearly 450 megahertz of spectrum just on one carrier for mid-band 5G. That is monopolistic, close to monopolistic. Now, they already have some C-band, right? 40 megahertz, right? Nationwide. Another, 3.4 gigahertz is coming out where the maximum you can get is 40 megahertz of it. There's a lot of issues if one carrier has that much spectrum, and we know for a fact that they're not going to be deploying it for a couple years, right? We know Tyrone's been on record saying that they're focusing 2.5 like crazy right now. When are they going to get to C-band? Who knows? We don't know, because they clearly don't have band 71 everywhere.
Yeah, but
right?
Moose, they're willing to build, I think. So, I think it'll happen relatively soon. I mean, the new T-Mobile is building out N41 like crazy. So I would say that the chances of them building out the N41 within a year of clearance, so 2024, I mean, I think they're pretty good because they only got C-Block.
That's right. But I'm telling you, man, like if a company hoards spectrum, like for example, let's rewind the clock 3 years, right? Dish had a significant amount of spectrum licenses that have never been utilized. Even today, they have still not been utilized.
Yeah, and there's never been.
Wait, they have been utilized. They were utilized by T-Mobile during the pandemic and AT&T.
Correct.
Yeah,
not into the pandemic.
There will never be another carrier that will hoard spectrum like Dish in the history.
Tyrone ain't lying, bro.
That'll never happen again.
Dude, that's unbelievable hoarding of spectrum. And I'm so shocked that the FCC didn't have the balls to tell them, hey, there's a problem here.
Because they didn't have teeth, bro. I ripped the FCC at least 2 or 3 times during this broadcast, and they deserve it. They deserve worse. The Ajit Pai era is going to be known as a total failure. With the exception of them being a part of the C-band, they don't deserve any credit for anything good. They define broadband as 25 megabits per second downlink.
I mean, come on,
3
man.
megabits per second uplink. That's all I'm going to say, bro.
You should at least have, in the United States, everywhere, 100 by 25.
Yeah, but C-Moose, they keep the standards low so that the carriers can not invest quickly or, extensively. So, big shout out to Cody. We'll take his question. What kind of range are we going to see with C-band? Range, you're going to see PCS-like range, so similar to Band 2 propagation. But indoor signal, it's going to be more AWS-like, which, I don't know if you're familiar with Band 4, Band 66. Not as good as Band 2 indoors. Difference of about -4 or -5 dB. So...
yeah, you virtually
difference between a good signal and an edge. No, but it's like, let's say, for example, you're on band 2 and you're getting minus 89 RSRP.
Yeah.
A minus 94 could be the difference between 100 megabits per second and 60. Right? So it's going to be one of those situations where I think high power user equipment is going to make a difference. And I also think beamforming is going to be really nice too. So some of that might be mitigated. It may actually end up being more like PCS when it's all said and done because of power.
I'm personally excited, with the opportunity that Verizon has right now, where the clearing is looking like Tyrion's reporting that the clearing is going to be sometime in Q3 of this year. I mean, man, we're going to be seeing C-band in a lot more places and being utilized with a lot more phones. I mean, just this weekend, I'm noticing that there's massive upgrade cycles happening this weekend alone to 5G capable Band 77 phones. So that's promising. Number two, because of the fact that the top 2 carriers are now pushing to the limits, literally putting pedal to the metal on the C-band expansion, I'm willing to believe very strongly here that the C-band is going to be pushed to the point where it's not going to be 50% of top 10 markets or top 46 markets. It's going to be closer to 90% by the end of the first quarter.
I'm not going to argue that. I actually agree. I think the C-band build, even before it broadcasts, like, it's live, I think most of the big markets are going to be like 50% done.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to climb these towers. They're going to put up, they're going to do the basebands, the radios, the antennas, and whatever fiber optic, plans they have to make, to make sure that those sites can push. But like, from what I'm seeing, dude, is these sites are getting, like, I'm just going to speak to Verizon because I can't say I've seen any C-band for AT&T in my area, but I know which sites for Verizon are getting C-band. I can tell. They've got a unique rack setup where there's an opening for the smaller antennas from Samsung. So it's going to be C-band and millimeter wave, or C-band and CBRS and millimeter wave. It's freaking crazy. It's going to be a big thing. Like, we're going to see a totally unrecognizable network from both Verizon and AT&T. And the reason I say both is because I've seen what 10 megahertz does to a network. Like, when AT&T added band 14 and band 30 to my near home site, that site went from 105 megabits down to 350. Just by adding 10 megahertz of band 14 and 10 megahertz of band 30. Literally, that's 20 megahertz, Moose. So if we double that, we're essentially creating a site that now does 500 megabits per second.
Easily.
600 megabits.
And keep in mind this, we already know that backhaul upgrades for C-band sites will go upwards of 25 gigabits.
So
25.
Right. So my point is, as incredible as the T-Mobile 5G renaissance has been, we're now going to see the same renaissance from the other 2 carriers, which, here's what that means. N41 is a game changer for 100 million subscribers on T-Mobile that have 5G phones. C-band is going to be the same upgrade for like 250 million customers, because there's 2 companies that are using C-band heavily for Block A. You get what I'm saying, Moose? So it's not... Yep. N41's only helping T-Mobile customers. C-band N77 is helping double because of its AT&T and Verizon. So everybody's always asking, what's better, N41 or C-band? C-band, because it's going to help more people.
Here's another point of view that I was talking to Tyrone about, and he's clearly documented it in El Paso market. C-band is going to benefit LTE customers. And the reason why is because Verizon and AT&T are not going to completely swap LTE spectrum in mass quantities yet. They're going to keep the LTE, 90% of the LTE spectrum on LTE, moving just 10% G. And the C-band is going to come in and actually be the standalone and NSA portions of the 5G spectrum. Perfect example. Tyrone posted a picture. He got literally 0 Mbps on LTE. That is completely unacceptable, man.
That's bad.
Can't even make a call on that.
No, you
You
can't.
can't make calls. You can't do anything with your phone that requires a download. You can only do upload. It was doing like 3 Mbps upload.
You should have just did a live stream, bro. You had 4 megabits on the uplink. Be like, hey, I wanted to call my friend Bobby. Bobby, if you're watching this live stream, I got 0 megabits down.
Yeah. That's why I couldn't call
Absolutely
you.
insane, man.
That's nuts. Yeah.
But like I said, C-band is going to help congested LTE sites. It's going to help everybody because at the end of the day, right, you're taking somebody that's on an LTE, right, NSA connection and putting them on an SA connection. And they will have superior speeds. We're already seeing tests of C-band that are upwards of, and the backhaul hasn't been upgraded yet. They're going to do 300, 400 easily. They're doing more than freaking N41 at 100 megahertz because of the backhaul. The backhaul, man.
Yeah. I mean, hey, there's markets where AT&T is the fiber company. And Verizon has a lot of places with its own fiber and so yeah, I mean I would expect that the theoretical, for them is a little bit higher. Neville came out and spoke to the fiber. He said the more I buy, the cheaper it gets, and Tyrone, we've poked fun at that statement and what,
Yeah.
I think the bigger issue is just, we have to pump the brakes on C-band until we actually see it broadcasting, because it's encouraging to see what they're doing in Europe, but they've had 1 or 2 years of full C-band maturity.
Yeah.
So I could talk about the potential of C-band, like it's going to be great. It's going to be doing gigabit speed, once we get to a 60 megahertz channel. Like, yeah, that's all theoretical stuff. Let's let it broadcast and then test it and see where our devices are too. That's one of the things that matters. Are they able to aggregate 5G carriers? Is the N5 going to help with the C-band range? All these different things. So, but yeah, Moose, I get it. I know you're excited. So am I, dude. I mean, you slap on 40 or 60 megahertz of a dedicated standalone 5G connection.
It's endless. The opportunities are endless.
So Verizon basically said if you're on an ultra wideband connection, there's no limitations to what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Verizon has never been able to do that on their network because of the network management problems that they have in certain markets. It's congested, from what I understand. My network here in the CLE, that's not the case. They're highly densified. They have a lot of ultra wideband already, and they've upgraded a lot of CBRS. Tyrone, I forgot to mention this to you. I was driving home from work today, and I had to make a couple of pit stops, and I drove by 7 Verizon CBRS sites that are not active.
Oh, snap.
They're not even on yet. So I went to test and I couldn't connect to them. And a month ago, or maybe it was about 2 months ago, we were on the Twitter call with Moose, and there were like 15 CRANs that were not on yet. So there are upgrades that are ongoing that would only simply need antenna tuning, and we could see C-band on those sites. So we're excited, man. I felt Moose's energy, and I just wanted to say I reciprocate the same thing, man.
What is the site spacing like in the CLE, Sneed? You
It's
say
like
every mile, or you think they're
it's
getting
like
to
a
half
mile? Macro, like Verizon macro sites are probably between 1 and 1.25 mile.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely closer to a mile when you take in small cells.
Yeah.
T-Mobile's probably pushing 2 miles, for macros. It's a lot of the main connections, you will be spending on low band. So like, let's say I'm going from one site to the next. When I'm on Verizon, when it goes from one site to the next, it's on low band for like 3 seconds. And then it connects to mid band almost instantly. It takes a longer time for the T-Mobile connection to get on a mid band. So the tower density is clearly different. AT&T's was very similar to T-Mobile's, but recently that has changed. I think the band 14 it's been a huge upgrade. right? It's added the additional capacity because it's 10 megahertz, but it's low band. So now the signal is now stronger. So the quality of the signal is better. That's helped the HD calling. It's helped the tower handoffs. Yeah, it's
HPUE, 10 gig backhaul on all sites, right?
Yeah. The N41 has been nice, but I'm on a regular Magenta plan. It hasn't really helped me.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't been able to really use it.
I get the sense that, you know, Mr. SMT might be, you know, he might make that switch to AT&T soon. I can see it coming, man. That fiber, that additional capacity, I can see it coming, man. Soon.
Look, man, I've wanted to switch to AT&T. The only thing that has really kept me from making any type of switch with wireless is the fact that I don't have the fiber yet. Once I get the fiber, then it becomes a realization that could happen. Like, if they say to me, you know, teacher discount 25%, you get the fiber, you get the wireless discount, you know, like they start doing that. I mean, my bill drops.
Yeah.
You know, my Verizon wireless bill is pretty good right now because I've got a 2017 legacy plan. But you put that up against what I'd be paying for a Get More. I mean, crap, bro. My bill would go up to like probably $360. You know, if I switch to a Get More, which essentially increases my bill by like $50 or $60.
Yep. AT&T is might be inside Sneed's home real soon.
Yeah, once the fiber is there, you know, it's over, man. Like then it's
by when?
Legit.
By when did you say?
July.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I to be honest with you, all the networks in the CLE are good for data. With the exception of, I don't know what T-Mobile engineering is doing over here. They're working through these merger integration issues. It's just unreliable. It's not relevant to congestion. It's not relevant to speeds. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's literally, it's the fundamental networking prowess. I don't know what's going on. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll probably take them a while to get that done, but until then, it's gonna be a shit show, man. But I think for you, for what it's going to come down to, I think, is, like you said, pricing. I think AT&T will be a little cheaper. And then I think as time goes on, I mean, as you travel the state of Ohio, I mean, AT&T is probably going to be the better option, you know, going.
It's faster. The coverage is the same, but it's faster.
Yeah, going into rural and like you had the family trip and, you know, AT&T is just going to be the better option, I would say.
So Hans, the issue with the N41 versus the N77 is it's not that clear and dry. When you look at the frequencies between the two, so N41 is 2.5 gigahertz, the N77 is 3.7. You might think, okay, well, the frequency is different, right? So automatically that makes 2.5 gigahertz a better connection because it could travel further and it could penetrate buildings better. Apparently, the power difference between the two is going to actually kind of level the playing field. So in other words, the power that the N77 is going to transmit is going to make it more PCS-like in range. So I think some of that whole N41 having a lower frequency is a little bit overstated. There's more to the physics than T-Mobile lets on. You know, like I think Mike Sievert's like, he was talking about it. He goes, yeah, it's physics. You know, like these guys, whatever they're saying, you'd have to really get into the engineering piece, right? Like there's more to engineering than just the frequency. There's the power, you know, there's freaking the FCC rules, right? They literally force a power down of N41 in certain places. Like how about this, Tyrone? This is crazy. T-Mobile upgraded a site right off of the freeway by my house, just a few miles away. And on that site, only one sector has N41.
What?
There are 3 sectors on the site, and only one sector has N41. Now, why do you think that is, Tyrone?
I've never heard of that happening to where only one sector gets upgraded like that.
Okay, it's one sector. because
Yeah.
of the freaking Wi-Fi's. It's the Wi-Fi connections. Why would you broadcast a signal that's not going to be able to power through?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, literally, it's all those freaking Cox and Time Warner Spectrum cable, all those. Bro, they literally. I saw the 2.5 gigahertz antennas up there, and then they were gone. They literally took them down.
Holy shit.
Because I guarantee the engineers had to learn the hard way. They're like, yo, we tried to put up N41 there, and it's just not working. You know? I bet you they were getting an RSRP of like negative 110 from a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's a possibility. I mean, we're dealing with that here now with the border, so.
Big shout out to Magenta Speed Testing. If you guys want to check out his YouTube channel, I know I'm subscribed. Go ahead and check out some of his videos and subscribe. Seeing a good amount of N41 here in Frankenmuth, Michigan. Good speed dealing with large congestion this weekend. Also a good amount of Verizon upgrades. Thanks for that super chat, man. Honestly, T-Mobile's not congested here. Does not happen. Typically, my speed tests are like 100 to 400, you know, if I'm connected to N41. Speeds are not the issue here. It's other stuff. I've been sharing the screenshots of the SIM card. Just all of a sudden, there's no SIM reading. There's no network, no nothing. I don't know what they're doing. You know, that's why I say, like, if you're in an area where T-Mobile is struggling with merger integration processes, it's gonna be growing pains. You know. Thanks for that super chat, bud. Anything else, gents? Anything for the good of the order? We can touch on anything.
Maybe Moose wants to tell us how much his winnings were at the casino, man.
Yeah, you cashing out, dog.
There's been a lot of things. The fact of the matter is that people think that 2.5 is going to be the end-all, be-all. Significantly better spectrum because of physics. That's what... I mean, I don't even understand what Neville was trying to say when he tweeted out a picture of banana. What the hell is a banana, dude? Come on.
Should I pull it up? The banana?
Yeah,
I have no clue what the hell this guy is smoking. A banana, really?
I think they're just throwing anything.
What is he trying to say? I got a bigger one than Verizon? What is he trying to say?
That's ironic, man.
Look, to me, this is the issue. Okay, at the end of the day, once both networks, all three networks, have matured, we're gonna see who really is going to be the king. Because at the end of the day, consumers don't care about speed; they care about reliability. If you don't have service in the animal park, like you told me, right over there when you went to take Yasmin for her for her birthday, right? If you don't have service there, if you don't have service on the way there, if you don't have service in rural America, you're not going to be on Verizon. You're going to be on another carrier that does have it, period.
All right, I got the tweet. I'm going to do a screen share. We'll get up this...
let's see this. This is ridiculous.
So we've had dinosaurs. We've had golf clubs. What else have we had now?
Yeah, I mean...
Cake. We got layer cake. Dinosaurs.
Now we got a banana, which I don't even understand. I honestly didn't understand what he was trying to say.
This is the official Twitter account of the president of technology at T-Mobile. This is
what the hell is that?
This I don't. Oh man, hold on, man. Let me.
Is that another? That's what she said. What is that?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I look. I've never eaten the bottom of a banana. In fact, I've never had any external part of the banana. I've always eaten like the actual fruit part, but not the skin. So I don't know, man. They have a thing that they like to do where they try to turn these normal everyday things into their marketing strategy of their 5G networking. So, I don't know, man. It's a banana. They're targeting Verizon because apparently they've passed AT&T already. So they're not. Bro. But I'll tell you what it does tell us, though, Tyrone, and we've already talked about this many times. They're attacking the network perception piece.
Yep.
That is all they're doing right now. They don't care about LTE performance. They don't care about, profitability. They don't care about any of that stuff. They are literally just trying to take market share. They are trying to get any ads and all ads that they can. They will, in the process, try to add premium customers on Magenta Max, and they'll try to sell them T-Mobile Home Internet and all these things. But literally right now, all they care about is making sure that when people think about 5G, they think about T-Mobile. When people think about networking perception, they want them changing their mind from Verizon to T-Mobile. Now, the problem is this, and this is the truth. AT&T's network is no joke. It is by far the most improved network, and T-Mobile's network is hugely improved. Hugely improved, right? So for me to come out and tell you that AT&T's network is more improved than T-Mobile is telling you something, and it directly correlates to the spending. Tyrone, you've said it many times. The company that spends big is the company that improves the most.
Yep. And that's going to come. But here's something interesting, Sneed. So T-Mobile claims that they have 140 million covered with 2.5. Some people like pops, some people don't like it because it's
I don't. I like geographic coverage, but we'll go with the pops. Go ahead.
So we recently had all these conferences that were presented, and T-Mobile gave their spiel. It was open signal, Ookla, blah blah blah, best, fastest, most reliable, right? The only company that has gone against that all these years has been RootMetrics. RootMetrics recently released a 5G report of their testing, and the only thing, according to them, which is scientific testing, the only thing T-Mobile leads in is 5G availability. Again, they gave the 5G download speed to AT&T. So, like Moose keeps saying, T-Mobile's 5G lead is self-proclaimed. I trust Root because they are what I would say is the only scientific testing where there's actual software, and they're driving around the cities, they're walking downtown, they're doing walking tests, they're going indoors, they're testing in the morning, at night, and they still say that right now AT&T is still the fastest 5G download speed when T-Mobile has this amounts of more spectrum on air now. In some cities, it's over 150 megahertz now total on air. And they still can't, get the fastest 5G speed on a scientific basis. So, when is that really going to change to where RootMetrics is like, okay, T-Mobile, you do have the best network, or you do have the fastest 5G? Because they tell you that that's not the case.
I actually think, out of all the testing firms, RootMetrics is the only one that actually originates with a foundation of unbiased.
Yep.
So for those, maybe you guys have heard me discuss this. I actually know the process of how RootMetrics does the testing. What RootMetrics does is they go into a market. Let's say they're coming to the 216. They're coming to Cleveland. They come into Cleveland. They go into a Verizon store, and they purchase the Samsung Galaxy model year flagship from the Verizon store. And then they also purchase the best plan they have. So that'll be the Get More plan. And then they test in Cleveland for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And all times of the day, all places, they go to libraries, they go to businesses, they go to schools, they go everywhere. They go to beaches, they go to manufacturing facilities, they go downtown, they go everywhere, right? For 2 weeks. Not only do they do that for Verizon, the same people also go into a T-Mobile store, buy the Samsung Galaxy model year flagship, get their best plan, so Magenta Plus, Magenta Max, whatever. Then they do the same thing. They go into an AT&T store and they do the same thing. So they literally will do this for each company, testing the same areas at the same time. So what have they done by testing this way, Tyrone, is they have eliminated any form of bias.
Yeah.
The foundation of their testing is completely random. And they literally use the hardware from the store that a customer would buy, and they test.
Yep.
What could you possibly ask for better than that?
Yeah.
See, the thing about Ookla, when you look at Ookla speed test reports, is if you have one person who runs 1,000 speed tests a day standing in front of a frickin' N41 site, now what does that say about that market?
Yeah, but it's fast.
And look, I don't know if you guys know this. Everybody raise your hand if you know where Cedar Point is. All right, so Cedar Point is a roller coaster park in Sandusky, Ohio. T-Mobile has 2 sites in that entire city. AT&T has 6. Verizon has 9. If you stood in front of that one N41 site on Ookla and speed tested it all day for 10 hours, that data would make a difference in Ookla speed testing for a month.
Yep.
I don't think so, because the speed testing like Ookla take into consideration how many times a specific device does a speed test in a specific location.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
It would average the amount of times the whole day, or it's not. Stupid.
So it would be
It's not,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know how they were aggregating the data. All right, so because the first thing I thought about was, what if somebody was standing in front of a Verizon mmWave node and just kept mashing the speed test? Like, that's going to make Verizon speed tests look like they're averaging 2 gigabits per second, which you don't want. You really actually, you probably don't want mmWave contributing to too much testing, because it's kind of an outlier, right? Like in terms of network access. All right, so we got
Arizona's AT&T County or country.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a super chat from Big Rubes, $4.99. Arizona is AT&T country, SMT nation #1. Thanks, man. Carlos was saying, that he's tested Arizona pretty extensively. He says AT&T's vastly improved there. I didn't even know they were bad for AT&T at one point, but if they've gotten better, that's good to see. I mean, I went to Arizona. I've been to New Mexico. Verizon was really good when I was there. I could tell you guys that. I can't comment on T-Mobile because I wasn't using T-Mobile yet, but AT&T was decent.
Yeah, there's been several cell sites, northeast Arizona, by the Hopi Reservation, Grand Canyon. There's also a significant amount over there by Wickenburg and Salome, right? So hold on, let me see, the 93, right? The 93 corridor, right, from Las Vegas to Phoenix has been completely covered now. So that's a huge improvement, and more sites coming. So definitely, a lot more to come, right? There's more cell sites, more additional coverage. I know that Tyrone and Sneed, we've been talking about how AT&T by April of next year will have 3.03 million square miles covered of LTE. That's a significant amount of coverage. I mean, we're approaching now full square mileage of the United States.
What's the percentage up to, Moose? We in the upper 70s right now?
In terms of, what do you mean?
Geographic range?
Tyrone, where are we at right now?
I think it was 2.73 million.
Right, but
Square
in terms
miles.
of total percentage.
It's like 70 something, isn't it?
77%.
Yeah,
think
it's
it was.
quickly approaching 80%, Sneed. I mean, not
That's
even
nuts.
Verizon is at that level.
No, they're not. That's nuts, bro. I think I don't know what their goal is. I don't know where they need to end up or whatever. Yeah, it's freaking nuts. Sneed, can you explain how AT&T has the fastest 5G download speeds on average?
LTE.
Well, it is LTE, but
Yeah.
it's the important networking, side. It's the technical stuff. It's the fiber optic. It's the upgrades. It's the upgrade rate. So it's like, how many sites have you upgraded in the last year or two? Because in the last year or two, that's where the speed is coming from. These modernizations, the more you scale them, the more your network improves. So, having an N41 site in Sandusky, Ohio, that, at the N41 only reaches, a mile or whatever. So how much does that really help people? If AT&T goes into Sandusky and upgrades all 6 of their sites, that's legit. If you drive around Sandusky and you're getting 200-300 megabits down all the time, and then if you're a T-Mobile customer, you might get, a 400 megabit per second speed test near that N41 site. But as soon as you get a mile away, you're down to like 100 megs. And that's the only site that has N41, right? So it's really about the scale of the upgrades. Look, I think what's going to happen is, I think with T-Mobile scaling the N41, you'll see them winning a lot more markets and root metrics towards the end of the year. Like, they'll have like a dozen or so markets, maybe 20, But I think once the C-band starts to broadcast, then it changes everything again. So, Roger Entner, dude's a, OG of the game. He knows these things, better than anybody. He says, one carrier catches up, then there's a new leader, and then another carrier catches up, and they're the new leader. It's just the ebbs and the flows of the tech, who takes advantage of the right technology call. If Verizon catches on with this millimeter wave thing as fast as we think they will be the network leader for a long time. In a lot of places. If C-band takes off like we thinks it will, then, T-Mobile's 5G speed, self-proclaimed, whatever, that's going to be short-lived too, depending on how much C-band scales. Yeah. But they're getting ahead. They are really trying to force the issue, Tyrone. I know you can attest to it in El Paso, and I know that I've seen it here in the CLE. They're trying their best to get ahead.
Yeah, but that's my thing. If we believe in the scientific testing, they still say that AT&T is faster when T-Mobile has all this additional spectrum on air.
But Tyrone, I think that's just a testament to the tower density and the upgrade rate of AT&T.
Correct.
It's just that literally they're still playing from behind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look, here's the way I look at it. If there's 1 or 2 tower sites in a city, a small town, does it really matter if it has N41? It matters to only the people that can reach that site.
Yep.
The 6 sites for AT&T is more meaningful because it covers the entire city. And it's not stretching the signal. It's densifying the signal. It was crazy, dude. When I went to that, when I took my family on vacation over spring break, as soon as I got off the freeway, there was an N41 site off the freeway. I was getting 500 megabits off the freeway. It was great. For the next 30 miles, I never got a speed test more than 2 megabits for T-Mobile.
God damn.
30 miles. 30. Verizon was like 15, 20 megabits. AT&T was 100, 200 the whole way. That means every site had been upgraded. Every single one. Every single one had band 14. Every single one was getting the PCS, the 66 upgrades. It was like Verizon on steroids is what it was. And that was for dozens of miles. That was not a fluke incident. I looked up at the T-Mobile sites, and there was 2 or 3 band 2 onlys. And, there were a couple sites, I swear they were 3G only. So I don't know if that was Sprint or whatever, so it was like keep sites. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens when you shut down the CDMA?
Yep.
Now there's nothing on there, so they have to get gear up there.
And that costs money too.
Of course it does. But it just goes to show you this is no easy task. That's why I think what AT&T did over the last 2 years with the spending was so impressive. Or else, honestly, what's the conversation we're having right now? Verizon's the only national carrier.
We would still have that same conversation.
Yeah,
yes.
we'd be. So that's why I'm thankful that AT&T got the first net and they're doing that part. And I'm also thankful that T-Mobile continues to build out their N41 and their Band 71. Let's not sleep on Band 71, dude, for coverage. Go ahead, Moose.
Sneed, man, can I show what's called a speed test really quick?
Sure.
Let's do it.
That I'm at? Okay, let me show you guys this.
Let's do it.
So we got AT&T here.
All I see is dark.
Keep in mind, majority of people here have AT&T. 67.3 by 24.8, right? T-Mobile. Capacity, dog. Capacity. They can't compete. I'm telling you.
Could you describe to me what you're seeing? Because I don't see anything.
I can't see anything.
Amount of people. I mean, we're talking massive amounts of people here. Like every single slot.
Do you not? Are you using a Nokia right now, or do you not have a camera? What's the deal?
Nokia? What?
We can't see your video.
There's no camera, bro.
You can see the video, right?
No.
Oh. Can you see it now?
No, you got to give. You got to do your mic camera, whatever they call that, the permissions.
Hold on.
Man,
he's talking like.
Yeah, he's talking.
Anyways, let me just describe it for you. There's a significant amount more people here than in normal days, but even still, right? There's just not enough capacity for everybody here. Period. And you can see it by the screenshot that I have here. So AT&T's at 67 by 24 and T-Mobile's at 21 by 9. Clearly, who has the more capacity here?
Well, I mean, there's still. So I guess I view capacity a little bit different than maybe some people. Like, you need enough for your customers. So whatever that number is, whatever that capacity level is, as long as you can adequately maintain a good experience for your customers, then you got what it takes, you know? But yeah, man, I mean, think about it, Moose, like T-Mobile customers are data hogs, right? They love using their data. They've gotten accustomed to unlimited plans dating back to frickin' John Leisure, right?
Yep.
Big shout out to Cesar. Thanks for the super sticker. I don't know what kind of sticker is it? I don't know. I can't really see on this side. This #1 fan. Nice. Thanks, man. Appreciate you, Cesar. Thank you. Also, big shout out to my brother Jose. Yeah, man. What's up, Bretta? Thanks for that super chat, Dono, man. Thank you. Yeah, maybe I just look at the capacity a little bit different. You just got to be able to serve your customers, man. You can't be having them complaining about congestion and stuff. You know, 21 by 9, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with 21 by 9. I'd be doing HD video, no problem. Not much headroom. Like, if it got congested, you'd be in trouble. You know. Anything for the good of the order, gentlemen? Is there anything else you want to cover, Moose? Anything you want to speak to, Tyrone?
I mean, this is good. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't reliably say that I would recommend T-Mobile, man. I'm serious. I don't know why
Did we lose Moose?
So, I thought we were gonna see this great video, man. He
really brought out the chops on the video, right?
Yeah, man. I was like, damn, we're gonna see some great HD footage.
Yeah. So, moral of the story, the T-Mobile LTE situation, if you're still on an LTE device, make your upgrade pretty soon. They will continue to just put all of their assets and resources into 5G, so that experience is going to be good compared to whatever their LTE is kind of like left over, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they should be retuning radios for wider band 2 channels, so that's good.
Yeah, I think that's coming now. I've seen people tell me that PCS is, you know, in some cases they can make a contiguous.
Give me 1 second.
In some they can't, so they have to aggregate it. But I really think that's going to 5G eventually.
Okay, so I just can't rely on T-Mobile, man. Too many dead spots on the way here. Too many issues. Not enough capacity when there's 5 bars. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Moose is pissed.
Yeah, he's pissed. But yeah, just real quick, I think in the future, short term, midterm, LTE customers could be left with band 12 5 megahertz.
You think they'll get rid of the whole band 71 and just put it all to the NR?
Oh yes. I mean, the conversation and the languages that they use, they don't even talk about LTE anymore. They don't even talk about N7. They don't even talk about the low band 5G anymore.
No, it's just N41.
Ultra capacity.
It's 5G.
I feel like T-Mobile actually moved faster than they needed to, like with their marketing. Going
Ready,
from
guys. I gotta go, but
all right, Moose, thanks, man.
Conversation tonight. I'm so glad that we were able to do this. Thank you so much for SMT, Sneed.
Thanks, bro.
Tyrone, thank you. We'll talk soon, okay?
See you, man. Yeah, I think they moved a little too fast away from the coverage piece. Hopefully they do expand coverage because, come on, man. You need more coverage of this sort of thing. I mean, Moose or Tyrone, don't you think there's people that are just waiting for a tower upgrade in rural America that don't really care for N41 necessarily?
Some are just wanting to have service.
Right.
Hey, where's the tower? You have nothing. Yeah. There are people, I mean, I'm sure it's not a lot of people, but there are some people out in rural that have a pulse and have a sense on what T-Mobile's doing, and they wish they could be on the, with T-Mobile, but they can't because there's no service.
Thanks, Zero Cool. Appreciate the super chat, man. Yeah, availability. It's funny, T-Mobile does dog Verizon for not having available 5G, ultra wideband. If I was Verizon, I would come back. Well, how about you get an available network? Period.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we really need to see the carriers bickering back and forth, but I mean, they do throw stones from the glass house, the proverbial, T-Mobile N41 extra sauce, ultra sauce.
Ultra sauce. That's what I'm saying. Like AT&T and Verizon have never been the carrier to fight back. Even when John was the CEO and he was calling them dumb and dumber. And at that time, the network was far smaller and less capacitive. And, they still didn't fight back.
Well, that was the one thing he never had. He never had a network. And now they do have a network. That's for sure.
They do.
Yeah, they definitely do have a network. It's much more formidable nationally. And it does have, some true dedicated 5G channels. So, yeah, I mean, 15 megahertz of low band 5G dedicated, 40, 60, 80, 100 megahertz of dedicated at, mid band. I mean, that's no other carrier can say that. What the N5 for AT&T is 5 megahertz, and then the DSS band 5 for Verizon is a shared 10 megahertz slice.
Yep.
Yeah,
no other carrier can say that.
Yep. So, I call it the Trump's. I call it the Trump stimulus, the merger, because I don't think it would have happened under any other administration.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened. Nope.
Good for them though. They continue to push forward and try to become the number one carrier in the country. I can't argue with the results, dude. The investment, the money, is going towards them. I guess you look at the stocks. What are they trading at? Like 143, Tyrone?
Yeah, they're going up, man.
I know you said that they had been trending up and they were going to push a much higher value. So it looks to me like you might be onto something there.
Yeah.
Anything else for the good of the order, Tyrone?
No, I think that's it, Sneed. I think we've covered everything extensively and in detail. We got some good questions in, and I think we covered those. And I think that's it.
All right, I need you all to do me a favor. For those of you that are in the live chat, I want you to go ahead, and any of my moderators that could do this for me, let's get a link to Tyrone's channel. The channel is called Tech Life Channel. You will find him making videos, offering his commentary, his predictions, insights on what's going on in the network world, wireless networking and mobile network operators. He joins us all the time graciously on to the podcast, and we discuss the topics of the day. And we're glad to have him. Tyrone, thanks for being on. Go ahead and tell him about your channel and what you got going on, man.
Yeah, thanks, Sneed. Anybody that wants to join the channel, it's just more analysis, more commentary. The wireless industry is heating up. 5G is becoming a bigger deal, even more now that C-band's on air, and we're going to get more into fixed wireless. It seems AT&T is now to the tune of fixed wireless, so we could see more of that coming. A more competitive space now, even amongst fixed wireless. I think Stanky's budging because now that media's gone, they're going to look for more streams of revenue as well. So, I mean, this year is going to be big. Next year is going to be bigger as the equipment shortages get handled and more equipment is coming. I mean, it's going to be a roller coaster ride.
Awesome. Thank you. And, Tyrone is a personal friend of mine. And also somebody, we're kind of in the same thing. We're all kind of doing the same thing here. So we form like, I don't know if it's necessarily a brotherhood per se, but I mean, we discuss these things all the time, right?
Yep.
Like we enjoy it. We're enthusiasts. We enjoy the business angle. We enjoy the networking angle. We have fun with it. And we're glad to have all of you becoming subscribers and viewing our content. So thank you for supporting us, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, y'all. Big shout out to all my moderators, #Mod Squad, those with the blue wrench. Also, #2Live Crew for those that are watching this in the live. #Replay Gang if you're watching this on DVR and replay. Big shout out to everybody who offered super chats recently. I did see Cesar, Jose, Zero Cool. There were several from before. Magenta Speed Testing. And I want to say Randy had several, so big shout out to you guys. Mark as well, thank you so much. And there were some early on that I actually can't go back. So thank you guys for those donos. If it's your, you just happen to randomly pop in here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell notification icon so you know when we go live and when we upload new videos. So become a member there. And also, you can support us on Patreon. We do have a Patreon page, exclusive content, live streams, videos, early access perks and other things, discounts on wireless service through Los Mobile. So you can check out all those things. There's links in the description box for all of that. Thank you guys for engaging with us in the live chat. For all of you watching this on the replay, thank you for that. And go ahead and get that conversation going in the comment section below. Again, thank you. It is Saturday at the time of this recording, May 29th, 2021. And I think that's it. We out this piece.
It's neat.
Peace. Yeah.
I sent you some internal stuff right now
Oh, man.
to your phone, so you can check that out.
Okay. All right. Check it out.
To give you some good insight.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'll look into it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.